Welcome to another exciting episode on Ben 10 What If. Today, we're exploring a captivating tale called What If Ben 10 Got a Green Lantern Ring. Before we begin, if you enjoy our content, please support us by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. It helps more than you know. And now, the story awaits. Chapter 1, The Will and the Watch. The explosion rocked the abandoned factory, sending smoke billowing into the night sky. Ben Tennyson hit the ground hard, rolling to absorb the impact as debris rained down around him. "Okay, so these aren't your average forever nights," Ben muttered, brushing dust from his jacket. "Got any bright ideas, Gwen?" His cousin's hands glowed with mana energy as she projected a shield over them. "Besides not letting you pick our stakeout locations anymore?" "Not really." Kevin emerged from behind a collapsed wall, his body coated in steel absorbed from a nearby support beam. "They've got some kind of alien tech. Looks Galvan, but modified." Ben checked the Omnitrix on his wrist. "Then let's fight tech with tech." He twisted the dial, cycling through alien silhouettes. Going Humongosaur should, a beam of energy sliced between them, forcing the trio to scatter. 5 armored knights marched forward, medieval armor somehow integrated with glowing alien weaponry. "Surrender the Omnitrix, Tennyson." Their leader stepped forward, visor glinting in the moonlight. "This facility is under forever night control." "Yeah, about that." Ben slammed his hand down on the Omnitrix. Green light flashed, and where Ben had stood now towered a massive dinosaur-like alien. Humongosaur. Ben charged forward, growing larger with each step. The knight scattered, firing energy beams that singed his tough hide but didn't slow him down. He grabbed the nearest support beam and swung it like a baseball bat, sending 2 knights flying. Gwen vaulted over a barricade, her hands trailing magenta energy. 3 on the catwalk. She fired mana bolts, knocking 1 knight back. The other 2 returned fire, forcing her behind a concrete pillar. Kevin slid across the floor, touching a fallen knight's armor. Metal coating spread across his body, taking on the properties of the alien alloy. "This stuff's nice. Think I'll borrow it." "Less admiring, more fighting." Gwen called out, deflecting energy beams with her shields. Ben smashed through a wall, pursuing the knight's leader. "What are you guys after this time?" "Medieval alien prom dates." The knight commander backed away, drawing a sphere from his armor. "This facility houses technology beyond your comprehension, child." "Try me," Ben growled, reaching for him. The knight threw the sphere, which exploded in a blinding flash. When Ben's vision cleared, the commander was gone, but a strange device sat in the center of the room, humming with energy. "Guys! Found something!" Ben called, reverting to human form in a flash of green light. Kevin and Gwen joined him, staring at the alien device. It resembled a satellite dish connected to a pulsing core. "Some kind of signal amplifier?" Gwen suggested, her eyes glowing as she scanned it with mana. Kevin knelt beside it. "Worse. It's a subspace transmitter. They're calling someone. Or something," Ben added. Before they could investigate further, the night sky tore open in a flash of emerald light. Something blazing like a meteor streaked overhead, trailing green fire. "That's not the knight's backup," Ben said, already running toward the exit. They reached the parking lot just as the object crashed in the woods beyond, sending up a plume of dirt and broken trees. The green glow pulsed, weakening with each flash. "Omnitrix signature?" Gwen asked as they ran toward the impact site. Ben shook his head. "Different energy. Never seen anything like it." They skidded down the crater's edge to find a humanoid figure lying amid smoking debris. Not human, the alien had reddish skin and 4 arms. One hand clutched a glowing green ring, its light flickering like a dying flashlight. "Help has come." The alien whispered, blood trickling from his mouth. His uniform, once bright green and black, was torn and charred. Ben stepped forward. We're here. What happened to you? Sinestro, yellow fear, hunting rings. The alien's breathing grew labored. I am Torquil. Green Lantern of Sector 2814.3. Ring must continue. You need medical attention, Gwen said, kneeling beside him. Let me, no time. Torquil's eyes fixed on Ben, then drifted to the Omnitrix. The ring, it chooses those with great will, great courage. The ring floated from Torquil's finger, hovering before Ben. Its glow strengthened, bathing them all in emerald light. Benjamin Tennyson of Earth, Torquil whispered, the ring has chosen you. Will you accept its power, its responsibility? Kevin grabbed Ben's arm. Whoa, hold up. You already have the Omnitrix. You don't know what that thing is. It's dying, Ben said, watching Torquil's life fade. He's dying. The alien lantern coughed. The oath, you must speak the oath. Ben hesitated only a moment before extending his hand. The ring hovered, waiting. What's the oath? Torquil's voice grew fainter. In brightest day, in blackest night. Ben repeated the words, feeling something powerful awakening within and around him. In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might, beware my power. Green Lantern's light. The ring slipped onto Ben's finger alongside the Omnitrix. Green energy exploded outward, enveloping him in a cocoon of light. His clothes transformed into a black and green uniform, a lantern symbol appearing on his chest alongside the Omnitrix symbol. Two great powers. Torquil whispered, his eyes closing. Use them wisely, Lantern Tennyson. The alien's body grew still. Gwen reached out, checking for a pulse, then looked up at Ben with sad eyes. He's gone. Ben stared at the ring on his finger, then at the Omnitrix on his wrist. What just happened? You tell us, Kevin said, eyeing the new uniform. Nice outfit change. You planning on keeping that thing? Before Ben could answer, the ring pulsed with energy. A beam shot skyward, and Ben felt a strange pulling sensation. Ben. Gwen reached for him as green light surrounded his body. I don't think I have a choice. Ben called back as the energy lifted him from the ground. Find Grandpa Max. Tell him, his words cut off as the green energy engulfed him completely. In a flash, Ben Tennyson vanished from Earth, leaving his stunned cousin and friend staring at empty air. Space twisted around Ben in ways that made him grateful he'd skipped dinner. This wasn't like Alien X's cosmic travel or even a teleporter tube, this felt like being pulled through reality itself. When the green light finally faded, Ben found himself hovering above an alien city unlike anything he'd seen before. Massive structures of gleaming white stone rose into a sky painted with stars and nebulae. At the city's center stood enormous lantern-shaped buildings surrounding a central power battery that pulsed with the same green energy as his ring. Okay, definitely not Bellwood anymore, Ben muttered. His ring pulsed in response. Welcome to OA, home of the Green Lantern Corps. Ben nearly fell from the sky in surprise. You can talk. This ring contains advanced AI and database functions. All Green Lantern rings are equipped with, going to stop you right there, Ben interrupted. I've had enough AI in my life, thanks. Just tell me where I'm supposed to go. The ring projected a beam of light pointing toward a massive citadel. New recruits report to the central hall for induction and assignment. Ben flew in the indicated direction, awkwardly at first. This is nothing like being Jetray, he complained as he nearly clipped a spire. After a few moments, he got the hang of it, more or less. So is flying just, thinking about where you want to go? Flight is controlled by willpower and intent, the ring explained. As are all ring functions. As Ben approached the citadel, he noticed dozens of beings flying around in similar green uniforms. Some looked human, but most didn't, there were species with multiple limbs, energy beings, even what appeared to be a sentient mathematics equation. Man, and I thought Plummer's HQ was diverse, Ben whispered. He landed at the entrance to the citadel, where two large lanterns stood guard. One resembled a humanoid wolf, while the other might have been a fish if fish had 4 eyes and crystalline skin. New recruit, the wolf-like lantern growled, looking Ben up and down. I guess. I just got this ring from a lantern named Torquil who crash-landed on Earth. The guards exchanged glances. Torquil of Zerdar was reported missing after engaging Yellow Lantern forces, the crystalline one said. Where is he now? Ben's expression fell. He died right after giving me the ring. I'm sorry. The wolf lantern's ears flattened against his head. Another fallen brother. The Guardians must know immediately. He gestured toward the doors. Enter, recruit. The Guardians will want to question you. The massive doors swung open, revealing a vast circular chamber. At its center floated small blue-skinned beings in red robes, the Guardians, Ben presumed. Around them stood a ring of diverse aliens in Green Lantern uniforms. As Ben entered, every eye turned toward him. He felt the weight of those stares, especially when they noticed the Omnitrix on his wrist. Benjamin Tennyson of Earth, one of the Guardians announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. Approach. Ben walked forward, feeling very much like he was being called to the principal's office. How do you know my name? We know much about you, wielder of the Omnitrix, the Guardian replied. I am Appa Ali APSA, and we did not anticipate that a Green Lantern ring would select someone already bonded to a device of such power. Another Guardian, this one female, floated closer. Tell us how you came to possess Torquil's ring. Ben explained what had happened, the fight with the Forever Knights, Torquil's crash, and the passing of the ring. As he spoke, he noticed the Guardians exchanging concerned glances. The Omnitrix and a Green Lantern ring, a third Guardian mused. Two of the most powerful devices in the universe, never before wielded by the same individual. Is that a problem? Ben asked. It is, unprecedented, Appa Ali APSA replied. The Omnitrix transforms its wielder into different alien species. The Green Lantern ring responds to the willpower of its bearer. The interaction between these technologies is unknown. Ben held up his hand. Look, I didn't ask for this ring, but Torquil chose me for a reason. If you want it back, the ring has chosen, a new voice interrupted. A Green Lantern with a pink complexion and massive build stepped forward. The Corps does not reject those the ring select. Kilowog is correct, the female Guardian acknowledged. However, precautions must be taken. The power of the Omnitrix combined with a power ring could be catastrophic if mishandled. Ben bristled. I've been handling the Omnitrix just fine for years. With varying degrees of success, Appa Ali APSA noted dryly. Your adventures have not gone unnoticed by the Guardians. Before Ben could defend himself, another lantern stepped forward, this one human, with brown hair and a confident stance. Guardians, if I may. Earth is my sector. I should oversee the training of any new recruit from my world. Hal Jordan of Earth, Appa acknowledged. Your proposal has merit, though this situation requires special consideration. The Guardians conferred silently for a moment before reaching a decision. Benjamin Tennyson will undergo accelerated training under Kilowog, Appa announced. Hal Jordan will monitor his progress and, upon return to Earth, supervise his activities until we determine the full implications of this dual wielding of power. Ben looked between Kilowog, who resembled a pink drill sergeant straight out of a nightmare, and Hal Jordan, who gave him an encouraging nod. Don't I get a say in this? Ben asked. No, all the Guardians replied simultaneously. Kilowog stepped forward, towering over Ben. Training begins now, Puzzer. Hope you're ready for the worst 3 days of your life. 3 days? Ben's eyes widened. I can't stay here for 3 days. My family, my team, time passes differently between sectors, Hal Jordan explained, approaching Ben. 3 days here will be about 6 hours on Earth. I've already sent a message to your grandfather's plumber badge. Ben blinked in surprise. You know Grandpa Max. The Corps and the plumbers have an understanding, Hal said with a small smile. I'm Hal Jordan, Green Lantern of Sector 2814. Ben Tennyson. He gestured to the Omnitrix. But I guess you already knew that. Your reputation precedes you, Hal confirmed. Not many teenagers have saved the universe multiple times. Enough chatter, Kilowog interrupted, grabbing Ben's shoulder. Training ground, now. As Kilowog practically dragged Ben from the chamber, he caught sight of the Guardian still watching him with those unsettling ancient eyes. Something told him they weren't just concerned about his training, they were worried about what he might become with both the Omnitrix and a power ring. The training ground looked like someone had taken a military obstacle course, removed all safety features, and then added lasers. Lots of lasers. First lesson, Puzzer, Kilowog growled, hovering above the course. A lantern's most basic skill is creating a shield construct. Construct? Ben asked. Anything you can imagine, the ring can create, Kilowog explained. But it all begins with will. Picture a shield in your mind, solid, impenetrable. Ben raised his ring hand, focusing on creating a shield. A weak green glow appeared, barely forming a circle before dissipating. Pathetic, Kilowog declared. Again. Ben tried once more with similar results. After 3 failed attempts, Kilowog sighed heavily. You're overthinking it. The ring responds to will, not intellect. Don't try to understand the ring, command it. Ben nodded, closing his eyes. He thought about all the times he protected his friends and family with the Omnitrix. The determination he felt when facing down Vilgax, a Gregor, and countless other threats. Opening his eyes, Ben thrust his hand forward. This time, a solid green shield formed before him, its edges crackling with energy. Better, Kilowog admitted grudgingly. Now hold it while I test its strength. Without warning, Kilowog fired a blast from his ring. The impact sent Ben sliding backward, but his shield held. Not bad for a rookie, Kilowog said. Now let's see how you handle multiple threats. He gestured, and several training drones appeared, circling Ben with weapons primed. Wait, I'm not ready for, Ben started to protest. The drones opened fire simultaneously. Ben's shield shattered under the barrage, sending him tumbling across the ground. A lantern is always ready. Kilowog shouted. On your feet. Ben scrambled up, reaching for the Omnitrix out of habit. He caught himself, remembering Kilowog's instruction to rely on the ring. I can do this, he muttered, focusing his will again. This time, when the drones fired, Ben created a dome shield that encapsulated his entire body. The blasts impacted the surface but didn't break through. Now you're getting it, Kilowog nodded. But defense alone won't win battles. Attack. Ben hesitated, unsure how to form offensive constructs. What are you waiting for? Imagine a weapon and make it real. Ben thought quickly. What would work against these drones? The answer came from years of video games. He concentrated, extending his free hand. Green energy coalesced into the shape of an oversized laser cannon. Ben grinned and pulled the trigger. A blast of emerald energy shot forth, obliterating 2 drones instantly. Now we're talking. Ben shouted, taking aim at the remaining drones. Don't get cocky, rookie, Kilowog warned. As if on cue, one of the drones flanked Ben and blasted him from behind. He tumbled forward, losing his construct in the process. Lesson 2, Kilowog continued, awareness. A lantern must be conscious of threats from all directions. Ben got to his feet, wincing. Got it. Always watch your back. For the next several hours, Kilowog ran Ben through increasingly difficult drills. Creating basic constructs. Maintaining flight while under attack. Generating multiple constructs simultaneously. Each exercise pushed Ben's willpower to its limits. During a brief water break, Hal Jordan joined them, watching as Ben collapsed onto a bench in exhaustion. "He's handling the ring better than expected," Hal remarked to Kilowog. "Still sloppy," Kilowog replied. "But there's potential. His will is strong, even if his technique needs work." Ben took a long drink of water. "You know I can hear you, right?" Hal laughed, sitting beside Ben. "How's it feel?" "Using the ring, I mean." "Different from the Omnitrix," Ben admitted, looking at the green ring. "With the watch, I become someone else, different powers, different instincts. The ring feels like an extension of myself." "That's exactly right," Hal nodded. "The Omnitrix transforms you. The ring amplifies what's already inside you, your will, your imagination." Ben considered this. Could be useful in a fight, having both options. "That's what worries the Guardians," Hal said. "And me, to be honest. That kind of power concentrated in one person." "I've handled the Omnitrix responsibly," Ben defended himself. "Most of the time," Hal corrected. "I've read your file, Tennyson. The Guardians keep tabs on significant powers in the universe. You've done good work, saved a lot of lives. But you've also made mistakes." "Who hasn't?" Ben challenged. Hal's expression grew serious. With the combined power of the Omnitrix and a Green Lantern ring, a mistake could have cosmic consequences. Before Ben could respond, Kilowog bellowed from the center of the training ground. "Break's over, Puzzer. Time for flight combat." Ben groaned, pushing himself to his feet. "Does he ever take it easy?" Kilowog. "Never," Hal grinned. "But you'll thank him later when your training saves your life." By the end of the third day, Ben had mastered the basics of ring slinging. His constructs were solid, his flight control precise, and he'd even developed a few signature moves combining ring energy with combat techniques he'd learned from his alien forms. As Ben demonstrated a complex shield and attack maneuver, he noticed a group of Guardians watching from an observation platform. "Looks like you've drawn an audience," Hal noted, standing beside him. "Final evaluation time." Kilowog landed heavily nearby. "All right, Puzzer. Show the Guardians what you've learned." "Combat simulation, level 8. 8? Hal protested. "That's advanced core training. He's only been at this for 3 days. And he's got the Omnitrix as backup," Kilowog countered. "Let's see what he can really do." The training ground shimmered, transforming into a cityscape under attack by yellow constructs resembling insectoid warriors. These constructs moved independently, attacking buildings and simulated civilians. "Yellow?" Ben asked, noticing how the constructs seemed to flicker differently than the green energy he'd been working with. "Yellow represents fear," Hal explained quickly. "It's the opposite of green willpower on the emotional spectrum. Your ring works less effectively against it." "Now he tells me," Ben muttered, taking flight. The simulation began in earnest. Yellow warriors swarmed toward Ben, firing fear energy blasts. He dodged, creating a shield to block those he couldn't avoid. One blast caught his shoulder, spinning him in midair. Ben stabilized himself and returned fire, green energy lancing from his ring to disperse 2 attackers. "Multiple hostiles on your 6. Kilowog shouted from below. Ben turned to see 5 yellow constructs converging on him. Acting on instinct, he reached for the Omnitrix. "No!" Hal called out. "The Guardians want to see your lantern abilities, not the Omnitrix." Ben hesitated just long enough for the constructs to surround him. Yellow energy constricted around him, squeezing tighter as he struggled. "Use your will." Kilowog bellowed. "Push back against the fear." Ben closed his eyes, concentrating. The crushing pressure of the yellow energy seemed to target not just his body but his mind, filling it with doubts. What if he failed? What if these powers were too much? What if, no? Ben shouted, forcing the thoughts away. Green energy exploded outward from his body, shattering the yellow constructs. I don't do fear. The remaining yellow warriors regrouped, preparing for another assault. This time, Ben was ready. He formed a massive green battering ram and charged, smashing through their front line. For several minutes, the battle raged across the simulated city. Ben grew more confident with each maneuver, combining defensive shields with offensive strikes in increasingly creative ways. He's a natural, Hal remarked to Kilowog as they watched from below. He's unorthodox, Kilowog replied. But effective. As the simulation reached its climax, a massive yellow construct formed, a towering humanoid figure wielding dual energy whips. What is that? Ben asked over his ring communicator. Final boss, Hal replied. Modeled after a Yellow Lantern enforcer. This is where it gets tricky. The yellow giant lashed out with its whips. Ben dodged the first strike but caught the second across his chest, sending him crashing into a building. The impact knocked the wind from his lungs, and for a moment, his ring energy flickered. Get up, rookie! Kilowog shouted. Focus your will. Ben struggled to his feet, watching as the yellow giant advanced. His mind raced through options. Direct confrontation wasn't working, he needed a different approach. Then it hit him. Throughout his training, he'd been trying to use the ring like the Omnitrix, as a direct power source. But the ring was about imagination as much as will. Ben took flight, circling the yellow giant. It tracked him, whips lashing out with each pass. What's he doing? Kilowog wondered. I think he's figured it out, Hal smiled. Ben created a series of green energy mirrors around the giant, each reflecting its fearsome image back at it. As the construct attacked one mirror, Ben created another, surrounding it completely. Fear feeds on itself, Ben called down. So let's see how it handles a little self-reflection. The yellow giant became confused, attacking its own reflections. With each strike, Ben compressed the ring of mirrors, forcing the construct to confront its own fearsome nature. As the giant turned inward, Ben struck. He created a massive green drill and plunged it directly into the construct's core. Yellow energy shattered, dispersing into nothingness. The simulation faded, leaving Ben hovering above the training ground. Sweat dripped from his brow, but a triumphant smile spread across his face. The Guardians conferred briefly before Appa Ali APSA spoke. Benjamin Tennyson has demonstrated adequate mastery of basic ring functions, he announced. He is cleared for provisional duty under Hal Jordan's supervision. Provisional? Ben protested, landing beside Hal. I just beat your level 8 simulation. With unconventional tactics, Appa noted. The interaction between your Omnitrix and the power ring remains our primary concern. You will return to Earth with Lantern Jordan and operate within the parameters he establishes. Ben wanted to argue further, but Hal placed a restraining hand on his shoulder. Take the win, rookie, he advised quietly. Trust is earned slowly in the core. Ben took a deep breath, then nodded. Fine. When do we leave for Earth? Immediately, Ganthet, another Guardian, replied. We have received reports of unusual energy signatures in your sector, possibly connected to Torquil's death. Sinestro? Hal asked sharply. Ganthet's expression remained neutral. That remains to be determined. Investigate and report back. As the Guardians departed, Kilowog approached Ben and clapped a massive hand on his shoulder, nearly knocking him over. Not bad for a puzzer, he admitted. Keep practicing those constructs. Your shield still flickers when you lose concentration. Thanks for the crash course, Ben replied, genuinely appreciative despite the bruises covering most of his body. Come on, Hal said, activating his ring. Let's get you home before your family organizes a universal search party. The trip back to Earth took less time than the journey to OA, or maybe Ben was just getting used to ring travel. When they emerged from the green tunnel of energy, night had fallen over Bellwood. Your cousin and friend are at Plummer headquarters beneath Bellwood, Hal informed him as they flew over the city. Your grandfather is with them. How do you know that? Hal tapped his ring. Corps members can track Plummer badge signatures in their sectors. Part of that understanding I mentioned. They landed outside what appeared to be an ordinary plumbing supply store. Hal touched his ring to the door, and it slid open to reveal an elevator. After you, rookie. The elevator descended rapidly into Earth's crust. When the doors opened, Ben found himself in the familiar high-tech environment of Plummer HQ. Several agents stopped to stare at his Green Lantern uniform. Ben! Gwen's voice called out. She ran toward him, Kevin and Grandpa Max close behind. Hey guys, Ben greeted them with a wave. Miss me? Gwen threw her arms around him. 6 hours of no contact after you vanished in a green light. Yeah, we missed you. Nice outfit, Kevin smirked. The superhero pajamas look suits you. Max Tennyson approached more cautiously, eyeing Hal Jordan. Green Lantern. It's been a while. Max, Hal nodded respectfully. Wish it were under better circumstances. So you two do know each other, Ben observed. The Plumbers and the Corps have crossed paths before, Max explained. Usually when something threatens both our jurisdictions. Like now, Hal added grimly. Torquil wasn't just any lantern. He was investigating unusual energy readings in this sector, readings that match Yellow Lantern signatures. Yellow Lanterns? Gwen asked. Bad news, Kevin answered before Hal could. Everyone in the Null Voids heard of them. They use fear instead of will. Ben raised an eyebrow. Since when are you an expert on intergalactic peacekeeping corps? Since I spent years locked up with aliens who tangled with them, Kevin retorted. The Green Lanterns are cops. Yellow Lanterns are like, terrorist cops. That's, surprisingly accurate, Hal admitted. And their leader, Sinestro, has a particular interest in Earth lately. Max pulled up a holographic display. That would explain these energy signatures we've been tracking. They appeared around the same time Ben received the ring. The display showed yellow energy flares at various points around Bellwood, converging on an abandoned research facility on the city's outskirts. That's Dr. Onimo's old lab, Ben realized. The one he used for his DNA experiments before Grandpa shut him down. Onimo? Gwen frowned. He's been quiet lately. Too quiet. The Forever Knights we fought earlier had some kind of subspace transmitter, Kevin added. Maybe they were contacting these Yellow Lantern guys. Hal studied the energy patterns. Not directly. But they might have activated something that attracted Sinestro's attention. Only one way to find out, Ben said, activating his ring. The green energy surrounded him, refreshing his uniform. Time for my first official Green Lantern mission. Our mission, Hal corrected. Remember, you're under my supervision. And you're both in my jurisdiction, Max interjected. This is Earth, not OA. We work together. Ben looked between his grandfather and his new mentor, sensing the tension. Two authority figures, two different approaches to peacekeeping. Fine by me, he said diplomatically. The more help against these yellow guys, the better. Max nodded, apparently satisfied. Gwen, Kevin, gear up. We're moving out in 5 minutes. As the others prepared, Hal pulled Ben aside. Your grandfather's a good man, but he doesn't fully understand what we might be facing. Sinestro was once the greatest of the Green Lanterns before he fell. If he's here personally, we'll handle it, Ben assured him. Trust me, we've faced worse. Have you? Hal's expression was deadly serious. Sinestro doesn't just attack with power, he attacks with fear. He finds what terrifies you most and turns it against you. Ben thought about his years wielding the Omnitrix. The responsibility. The close calls. The times he'd nearly lost everyone he cared about. Everyone's afraid of something, he admitted quietly. But that doesn't mean fear wins. Hal studied him for a moment, then nodded. Maybe there's a reason the ring chose you after all. The abandoned research facility loomed against the night sky, its broken windows like dark eyes watching their approach. Max parked the plumber vehicle a quarter-mile away, hiding it behind a ridge. Thermal scans show multiple heat signatures inside, he reported, checking his equipment. Some human, some not. Yellow lanterns don't show up on thermal, Hal added. Their rings mask their signatures. Ben peered through the darkness toward the facility. So what's the plan? Go in rings blazing? Reconnaissance first, Max insisted. We need to know what we're dealing with. Agreed, Hal nodded. Ben and I will do an aerial sweep. The rest of you approach from the ground. We'll coordinate through the comm links. Ben activated his ring, rising into the air alongside Hal. The green energy surrounded him, making him almost invisible against the night sky. Stay close, Hal instructed. And keep your constructs minimal, green energy stands out like a beacon to other lanterns. They circled the facility, careful to remain high enough to avoid detection. Through one of the broken skylights, Ben spotted movement, figures working around what appeared to be a massive device. I see them, he whispered through the comm, some kind of machine in the central lab. I count 8 human signatures, Hal added. Forever Knights, based on the armor. And, something else. A flash of yellow light pulsed from within the building. Ben tensed, recognizing the energy signature from his training simulations. Sinestro, Hal confirmed grimly. We've reached the east entrance, Max's voice came through the comm, no guards outside, but the door's been reinforced with some kind of energy field. Ben descended slightly for a better look. The device in the central lab resembled a particle accelerator wrapped around what looked suspiciously like. Is that a modified null-void projector? Ben asked, squinting. Hal frowned. Can't tell from here. We need to. A beam of yellow energy shot upward, nearly hitting Ben. He dodged instinctively, creating a shield that deflected the second blast. We've been spotted. Ben called out, diving to avoid another attack. So much for stealth, Kevin muttered over the comm inside the facility, alarms blared. The knights scrambled to defensive positions as a tall figure floated upward through the skylight. Even without Hal's sharp intake of breath, Ben would have recognized Sinestro from his training. Magenta skin, pointed features, and a carefully groomed mustache that somehow made him look more menacing. His yellow uniform glowed with power, the Sinestro Corps symbol emblazoned on his chest. Hal Jordan, Sinestro greeted, his voice calm and cultured. Always a pleasure to see my former student. His gaze shifted to Ben. And the new recruit. How interesting. Hal positioned himself between Ben and Sinestro. Whatever you're planning, Thale, it ends now. Sinestro smiled thinly. On the contrary. It's only beginning. He glanced at Ben again, eyes narrowing. The Omnitrix wielder with a power ring. The Guardians must be beside themselves. You know about the Omnitrix? Ben asked, surprised. I make it my business to know about all significant power sources in the universe, Sinestro replied. Including your little watch. Though I admit, I didn't anticipate both devices ending up with the same teenager. Below, the knights had engaged Gwen, Kevin, and Max energy blasts exchanged with mana shields and plumber weapons. Ben, focus on the device. Max called over the comm, whatever it is, we can't let them activate it. Ben nodded, diving toward the skylight. Sinestro moved to intercept, but Hal crashed into him, green energy flaring against yellow. Go. Hal shouted. "I'll handle Sinestro." Ben plunged through the broken glass, landing in the central lab. Up close, the device was even more concerning, a hybrid of alien technology and Earth science, humming with barely contained energy. "Stop him," a familiar voice commanded. Ben turned to find Dr. Onimo emerging from behind the machine. The mad scientist looked different, his skin had a yellowish tinge, and his eyes glowed with the same energy as Sinestro's ring. "Onimo? You're working with the Yellow Lanterns?" Ben asked, creating a shield as Knights opened fire. "Not just working with them, boy," Onimo cackled. "Empowered by them. Sinestro recognized my genius where Earth's scientific community failed." Ben deflected the energy blasts, returning fire with green constructs that knocked 2 Knights unconscious. "What's this machine do? Turn everyone into fear-powered mutants like you?" "Something far more ambitious," Onimo replied, activating a control panel. "The Omnitrix and Green Lantern rings both draw power from fundamental cosmic forces. This device will tap into those forces directly." The machine powered up, yellow energy coursing through its components. Ben fired a beam at the control panel, but it bounced off a protective shield. "Too late, Tennyson," Onimo crowed. "The reaction has begun." Outside, the battle between Hal and Sinestro intensified. Yellow whips lashed against green shields as they dueled above the facility. "Your human apprentice won't stop the process," Sinestro taunted. "Not when he doesn't understand what's at stake." "What have you done, Thale?" Hal demanded, creating a giant green fist that Sinestro easily evaded. "Created the future," Sinestro replied. "Fear is the only true constant in the universe, Jordan. I've simply found a way to harness it more efficiently." Inside, Ben fought his way toward the machine, taking down Knights with precisely aimed constructs. Gwen and Kevin burst through a side door, joining the fray. "That thing's putting out crazy energy readings," Kevin shouted, absorbing metal from a nearby pipe. "Can you shut it down?" Ben called back, deflecting a blast from Onimo. Gwen's eyes glowed as she scanned the device with mana. "It's tapping into multiple dimensions at once. Shutting it down could cause a catastrophic reaction." The machine's hum grew louder, its core pulsing with yellow and green energy intermixed. Onimo laughed maniacally. "Behold! The power source of both the lanterns and the Omnitrix, united in one magnificent nexus." Ben's ring flared painfully on his finger, while the Omnitrix began beeping erratically. "Something's wrong," he gasped, feeling energy being drawn from both devices. "It's like it's feeding on both powers." Above, Sinestro broke away from his battle with Hal, diving toward the facility. "It's working. The cosmic catalyst is forming." Hal pursued him, but too late. Sinestro plunged through the skylight, landing beside Onimo at the machine's controls. "Phase 2, Doctor," Sinestro commanded. "Target the energy extraction." Onimo twisted several dials. The machine's focus narrowed, beams of yellow energy targeting Ben specifically. "What's happening?" Ben cried out as pain lanced through his body. Both the ring and Omnitrix glowed blindingly bright. "It's draining them both," Gwen realized. "Ben, get away from the machine." Ben tried to move, but the energy beams held him in place. He felt the power being pulled from both devices, not just the energy, but something deeper, more fundamental. "The boy possesses both power sources," Sinestro explained to Onimo. "Through him, we can access both simultaneously without the usual incompatibilities." "I am not your battery," Ben shouted, struggling against the energy pull. In desperation, he reached for the Omnitrix, twisting the dial with his non-ring hand. Green light flashed, temporarily disrupting the yellow beams. Feedback. Ben's voice changed as he transformed into the black and white alien with plugs on his fingertips and antennae. "Let's see how you like a taste of your own medicine." Feedback's natural ability to absorb and redirect energy counteracted the machine's pull. Ben extended his plugged fingers, drawing in the yellow energy instead of letting it drain him. "No!" Onimo screamed. "You'll overload the system." "That's the idea," Ben replied, his body crackling with absorbed power. Sinestro's eyes narrowed. Impressive adaptation. But futile. He raised his ring, forming a yellow construct shaped like a giant clamp. "Perhaps we need to separate the two power sources." The construct closed around Ben's arm bearing the Omnitrix, squeezing painfully. Ben cried out, his concentration breaking. The absorbed energy surged uncontrollably through his body. "Ben!" Gwen shouted, firing mana blasts at Sinestro. The yellow lantern batted her attacks away effortlessly. "Your cousin made a critical error," he told her. "Combining feedback's energy absorption with the ring's power creates an unstable reaction." As if to prove his point, green and yellow energy began to spiral chaotically around Ben. The machine's readout spiked, alarms blaring. "Energy containment failing," a computerized voice announced. "Dimensional breach imminent." Hal crashed through what remained of the skylight, tackling Sinestro away from the controls. "Ben! Release the energy before it tears you apart." Ben struggled to comply, but the energies had become self-sustaining. "I can't control it." "The Omnitrix," Gwen called. "Change back." Ben slapped the Omnitrix symbol on his chest. In a flash of green light, he reverted to human form, but the energy continued to spiral around him, centered on both the ring and the watch. Max burst into the lab, assessing the situation instantly. "We need to ground that energy." "Kevin." Kevin understood immediately. He coated his entire body in metal and grabbed Ben's arm. "This is gonna hurt, Tennyson." The combined energies flowed into Kevin, who grimaced in pain but held firm. The chaotic spiral began to stabilize as Kevin channeled it into the facility's grounding system. "It's working!" Gwen exclaimed. Sinestro broke free from Hal's grip, hovering above the scene. A temporary setback. The experiment provided valuable data. He glanced at Onimo. "Unfortunately, I no longer require your services, Doctor." Before anyone could react, Sinestro fired a precise yellow beam. It struck Onimo in the chest, extracting the yellow energy he'd been infused with. Onimo collapsed, returning to his normal appearance. "Till we meet again," Sinestro said, looking directly at Ben. "And we will meet again, young Lantern." A yellow portal opened behind him, and Sinestro vanished through it. The machine powered down, its energy dispersing harmlessly. Ben collapsed to his knees, exhausted. The ring on his finger pulsed weakly, while the Omnitrix reset with a beep. "That," Ben panted, "was not how I imagined my first day as a Green Lantern." Hal landed beside him, helping him to his feet. "Welcome to the Corps, rookie. It rarely goes according to plan." Max approached the machine, examining it carefully. Sinestro was trying to tap into the fundamental energy sources of both the Omnitrix and the power rings. "But why?" Gwen asked. "What would that accomplish?" "Power," Hal answered grimly. "Pure, unfiltered cosmic power. The kind that could remake reality itself." Ben looked down at his hand, where the green ring sat just inches from the Omnitrix. Two of the universe's most powerful devices, both attached to him. "He'll be back, won't he?" Ben asked quietly. Hal nodded. "Sinestro doesn't give up. Especially not when he's found something as potentially valuable as the connection between your two power sources." "Then I'd better be ready," Ben said with determination. He held up his ring hand, watching as green energy swirled around it. With his other hand, he touched the Omnitrix. "Both of us will be." As the plumbers secured the facility and took Onimo into custody, Ben stood on the roof, looking up at the stars. The weight of two great responsibilities rested on him now, the Omnitrix that had defined his life for years, and this new Green Lantern power that connected him to something even larger. He raised his ring to the night sky, reciting the oath that now bound him to a new destiny: in brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might, beware my power. Green Lantern's light. The ring flared brilliantly in response, its glow matched by the Omnitrix on his wrist. Whatever came next, Ben Tennyson would face it with the will of a Green Lantern and the heart of a hero. Chapter 2, Power and Potential. A month passed since Ben received the Green Lantern ring, and Bellwood had mostly gotten used to their local hero sporting a new green and black uniform alongside his alien transformations. Tonight, he soared through the night sky on patrol, ring glowing softly as he scanned the city below. All quiet on the Western Front, Ben reported through his ring communicator. Unless you count the midnight burrito run at Mr. Smoothie's. Hal Jordan's voice crackled through the connection. Stay focused, Tennyson. Your training session is in 20 minutes, and Kilowog doesn't appreciate tardiness. When does Kilowog appreciate anything? Ben muttered, making a sharp turn toward the warehouse district. I'm just saying, after a month of nightly patrols, you'd think Sinestro would have made another move by now. Patience isn't your strong suit, is it? Hal replied, amusement in his voice. Have you met me? Ben shot back with a grin. A flash of movement caught Ben's eye, shadows moving where they shouldn't be, near the docks. He descended for a closer look, ring at the ready. Might have something at the harbor. Checking it out. Need backup? For what's probably just dock workers. I think the mighty Green Lantern can handle it, Ben said, hovering above a cargo container. The shadows moved again. Definitely not dock workers, too fast, too coordinated. Ben created a simple light construct, illuminating the area. Smugglers. 6 of them, loading crates from a shipping container into an unmarked van. When the green light hit them, they froze, then scrambled for weapons. Really? Ben sighed. You guys couldn't wait until after my shift. The first smuggler fired a laser pistol. Ben deflected the shot with a shield construct, then formed a giant green hand that plucked the weapon away. Alien tech smuggling. That's a plumber jurisdiction and a Green Lantern offense. Double whammy. The smugglers scattered. Ben created a dome construct over the area, trapping them inside. One by one, he rounded them up with various constructs, a lasso for one, a cage for another, a comically large flyswatter for a third. You're getting better at multitasking, Hal observed, landing nearby. A month ago, maintaining 5 constructs simultaneously would have drained you. Ben secured the last smuggler with glowing green handcuffs. Practice makes perfect. Plus, I had a good teacher. Several good teachers, Hal corrected. Your grandfather's tactical training combined with Kilowog's ring fundamentals makes for a solid foundation. He examined the confiscated weapons. Level 3 tech. Nowhere near what Sinestro was after, but still illegal on Earth. Ben contacted Plumber HQ while maintaining the constructs. Grandpa, got some smugglers at the harbor with alien tech. The usual cleanup crew would be appreciated. On their way, Max responded. Good work, Ben. As they waited for the plumbers to arrive, Hal studied Ben with a critical eye. Your constructs are holding steady, but I still notice fluctuations when you're distracted. I'm working on it, Ben said. It's different from the Omnitrix. With alien forms, the powers just happen. The ring requires constant focus. That's because, a brilliant flash of blue light interrupted them. Both lanterns turned, rings raised defensively, as a teleportation beam materialized on the dock. The small gray figure that appeared made Ben's eyes widen in surprise. Azimuth? The Galvan creator of the Omnitrix looked distinctly displeased, his large eyes narrowing as he took in Ben's Green Lantern uniform. Benjamin Tennyson, Azimuth said, his voice carrying despite his diminutive size. I leave you alone for a few months, and you attach yet another universe-altering device to your person. Ben winced. In my defense, the ring chose me. I didn't go looking for it. And I suppose you didn't go looking for the Omnitrix either? Azimuth retorted. Yet here we are. His gaze shifted to Hal. You must be the Green Lantern assigned to monitor this potential catastrophe. Hal stepped forward. Hal Jordan, Green Lantern of Sector 2814. And you're Azimuth, creator of the Omnitrix. My reputation precedes me, Azimuth said dryly. As does the Guardians' tendency to meddle in affairs beyond their understanding. Says the guy who created a device that can rewrite DNA on the fly, Hal countered. Ben stepped between them. Okay, let's all take a breath. Azimuth, what brings you to Earth? Not that it's not great to see you, but you usually don't make house calls unless something's really wrong. Azimuth hopped onto a nearby crate to bring himself closer to eye level. The combination of Omnitrix and Power Ring energies sent ripples through space-time that my instruments detected. When I identified the source as you, I knew immediate intervention was necessary. The Guardians have been monitoring the situation, Hal said. Ben's training is progressing well, and there have been no concerning interactions between the technologies. No concerning interactions yet, Azimuth corrected. The Omnitrix wasn't designed to operate alongside own technology. The potential for catastrophic feedback loops is substantial. Ben felt a chill despite the warm night. Are you saying I need to give up the ring? Before Azimuth could answer, the plumbers arrived to take custody of the smugglers. Ben maintained his constructs until each prisoner was properly secured. We should continue this discussion somewhere more private, Azimuth suggested as the plumbers departed. Agreed, Hal said. But first, Ben has training scheduled with Kilowog. Azimuth's expression soured further. Ah yes, the Bullavaxian drill sergeant. His approach to education lacks subtlety. You know Kilowog? Ben asked, surprised. I've had dealings with the Corps before, Azimuth replied vaguely. Very well. I shall observe this training session. Perhaps seeing the interaction between technologies in a controlled environment will prove informative. Ben suppressed a groan. Having both Kilowog and Azimuth critiquing him sounded like a special kind of torture. Plumber headquarters had been modified to include a training area specifically designed for Green Lantern exercises. Hard light projectors created obstacles and targets, while energy dampeners prevented stray constructs from damaging equipment. Kilowog waited inside, arms crossed over his massive chest. His perpetual scowl deepened when he spotted Azimuth perched on Ben's shoulder. What's this? Bringing spectators to training now, Puzzer. Special circumstances, Hal explained, stepping forward. Azimuth is the creator of the Omnitrix. He's concerned about potential interactions between the technologies. Kilowog snorted. Concerned? Join the club. The Guardians have been in emergency session since this kid got his ring. Perhaps the Guardians should have consulted the Omnitrix's creator before allowing its wielder to train with own technology, Azimuth said pointedly. Perhaps the Omnitrix's creator should have put better safeguards on his fancy watch, Kilowog shot back. The safeguards are more than adequate, Azimuth bristled. The problem lies with the crude energy manipulation of your rings. Ben sensed an academic argument brewing. Guys, I'm standing right here. How about we focus on making sure I don't accidentally blow up the universe? Both Kilowog and Azimuth fell silent, though neither looked happy about it. The kid's right, Hal said. Let's run the standard training sequence. Azimuth can observe the energy interactions firsthand. Ben moved to the center of the training area while the others withdrew to an observation platform. He activated his ring, green energy forming his uniform. Begin sequence, Kilowog commanded. Hard light projectors generated a complex obstacle course. Ben took flight, navigating through narrow passages while deflecting projectiles with shield constructs. From the observation deck, Azimuth watched intently, his eyes narrowing each time the Omnitrix and ring pulsed in proximity. The energies are resonating, he noted. Subtle, but present. We've noticed that, Hal confirmed. It seems to happen more during combat situations when Ben's adrenaline is elevated. Kilowog increased the difficulty, adding simulated enemies firing yellow energy blasts. Ben dodged most but took a hit to his shoulder that disrupted his flight path. Sloppy. Kilowog bellowed. Use your environment, Puzzer. Ben recovered quickly, creating a reflective construct that redirected the next volley of yellow blasts back at their sources. As he did, the Omnitrix glowed briefly. Interesting, Azimuth murmured. The Omnitrix is responding to his emotional state, synchronizing with the ring's energy output. Is that dangerous? Hal asked. Potentially, Azimuth replied. The Omnitrix operates on precise genetic manipulations. The ring functions on emotional energy and will. Mixing the two could have unpredictable results. Below, Ben completed the obstacle course and moved to the combat phase. Hard-light opponents surrounded him, wielding various weapons. Let's mix it up, Ben called up to Kilowog. Ring and Omnitrix combo. Kilowog glanced at Hal, who nodded after a moment's hesitation. Approved, but keep it controlled. Ben grinned, activating the Omnitrix while maintaining his ring energy. In a flash of green light, his form changed. Diamond Head. The crystalline alien stood where Ben had been, but with a significant difference. His Green Lantern uniform had adapted to fit his new physiology, the ring still glowing on one finger. Now we're talking, Ben said, his voice deeper in this form. He extended one hand, firing crystal shards at the nearest opponents. With his other hand, he created green energy constructs to block incoming attacks. The combination was devastatingly effective, crystal projectiles guided by ring energy, striking with perfect precision. The uniform adapted, Hal observed with surprise. The ring recognized the transformation as a continuation of the same bearer. The Omnitrix doesn't simply change Ben's appearance, Azimuth explained. It rewrites his DNA completely. That the ring still recognizes him speaks to its sophisticated consciousness. Kilowog leaned forward, watching Ben's performance with grudging approval. Kids getting creative. Using the natural abilities of the alien form to supplement ring constructs. On the training floor, Ben faced the final wave of opponents. He shifted tactics, using Diamond Head's crystalline body to refract green energy from his ring. The resulting light show created dozens of energy beams striking in all directions, eliminating the remaining targets instantly. Training sequence complete, the computer announced. New efficiency record established. Ben reverted to human form in a flash of green light, the lantern uniform readjusting automatically. He looked up at the observation deck with a triumphant grin. So, what's the verdict? The three observers exchanged glances. Azimuth spoke first. The technologies are interacting more deeply than I anticipated. This warrants further investigation. Kilowog grunted. Not bad, Tennyson. Using alien abilities to enhance your constructs shows tactical thinking. But, Hal added, it also increases the energy interaction Azimuth is concerned about. We need to establish clear protocols for when you should and shouldn't combine powers. Ben's smile faded slightly. So I'm still on probation. You're on observation, Azimuth corrected. I need to consult with the Guardians directly. This situation has implications beyond Earth. Hal's ring pulsed suddenly, projecting a holographic message. The stern face of Appa Ali APSA appeared. Lantern Jordan, your presence is required on OA immediately. Bring the Tennyson boy. What's happened? Hal asked, straightening. Azimuth of Galvan Prime has demanded an audience with the Guardians regarding the Omnitrix ring interaction. Appa's eyes narrowed. We have agreed to his request, though we do not appreciate his tone. The projection vanished. Hal turned to find Azimuth looking smugly satisfied. You contacted the Guardians directly? Hal asked, incredulous. Of course, Azimuth replied. Did you think I came to Earth merely to watch the boy train? This matter requires a formal agreement between Galvan Authority and the Guardians of the Universe. Ben groaned. Great. Intergalactic political drama. My favorite. Get used to it, Puzzer, Kilowog said, clapping a massive hand on Ben's shoulder. When you wear that ring, you're not just a hero, you're a diplomatic incident waiting to happen. The Guardian's chamber on OA seemed even more imposing than Ben remembered. This time, in addition to the small blue figures hovering in their circle, a holographic projection of Azimuth stood at equal height, a concession to dignity rather than practicality. Ben and Hal stood in the center, caught between two of the universe's most ancient and powerful authorities. The Galvan position is clear, Azimuth was saying, his tone unyielding despite his small stature. The Omnitrix is under my jurisdiction. Its technological integration with own power rings was never authorized. The rings choose their bearers, Appa Ali APSA responded coldly. We did not direct Torquil's ring to select the Tennyson boy. Yet you proceeded to train him without consulting me, Azimuth countered. The Corps has protocols for new recruits, Ganthet, another Guardian, interjected more diplomatically. We followed standard procedure. There is nothing standard about this situation. Azimuth snapped. The Omnitrix was designed to preserve DNA samples of extinct species and promote interspecies understanding. It was not intended to be paired with a weapon. The power ring is not merely a weapon, said, a female Guardian, objected. It is a tool for maintaining order and justice throughout the universe. Ben cleared his throat. Both parties turned to him with expressions suggesting they'd momentarily forgotten his presence. Can I say something? Since, you know, this is about me and all. Azimuth and the Guardians exchanged glances, then nodded reluctantly. I understand everyone's concerns, Ben began carefully. But the fact is, I have both devices now. The Omnitrix has been part of me for years. The ring chose me, for better or worse. Instead of arguing over jurisdiction, maybe we should focus on how to make this work safely. A moment of silence followed his suggestion. Hal gave Ben a subtle nod of approval. Ganthet stroked his chin thoughtfully. The boy raises a valid point. Our priority should be safety, not authority. Agreed, Azimuth said, surprising everyone. While I maintain that the Guardians should have consulted me immediately, what's done is done. We must establish protocols to prevent catastrophic interactions. What kind of catastrophic interactions are we talking about exactly? Ben asked, suddenly nervous. Azimuth's hologram shifted, displaying complex energy patterns. The Omnitrix manipulates the fundamental building blocks of life itself. The power rings channel energy from the emotional spectrum, a fundamental force of consciousness. Both tap into cosmic forces not meant to intersect. In the wrong configuration, Appa added gravely, they could create reality distortions, dimensional rifts, or worse. Worse than reality distortions. Ben swallowed hard. That's not great. Ganthet floated forward. I propose a joint study. Azimuth and I will examine both technologies in controlled conditions to establish safe parameters for their combined use. Acceptable, Azimuth nodded. We will require access to both the Omnitrix and a power ring for comparison. My ring stays with me, Ben said quickly, holding up his hand protectively. Of course, Ganthet assured him. We would use a deactivated ring for study purposes only. Hal stepped forward. What about Ben's duties? He's still in training as a lantern, and he has responsibilities on Earth. Those will continue, Appa declared. Under strict monitoring. At the first sign of dangerous energy interactions, both the ring and Omnitrix will be temporarily deactivated. Wait, you can deactivate the Omnitrix remotely? Ben asked Azimuth with surprise. Only in extreme emergencies, Azimuth replied evasively. A failsafe I installed after certain incidents. Ben decided not to press that particular issue. So what happens now? You return to Earth, Ganthet said. Continue your training and duties. Azimuth and I will begin our investigation immediately. And Ben will report any unusual sensations or interactions between the devices, Azimuth added. No matter how insignificant they might seem. The meeting concluded with formal agreements established between Galvan Prime and OA, a historic first, according to Hal. As they prepared to return to Earth, Ganthet approached Ben privately. Benjamin Tennyson, the Guardian said softly. I sense great potential in you, greater perhaps than either we or Azimuth anticipated. Proceed with caution, but also with confidence. The universe rarely makes mistakes when distributing its gifts. Before Ben could respond, Ganthet rejoined the other Guardians. Hal placed a hand on Ben's shoulder. Ready to go home? Your grandfather's probably wondering where we disappeared to. Ben nodded, activating his ring. Yeah, let's go before another cosmic authority decides to weigh in on my career choices. Gwen Tennyson's mana shields flickered under sustained assault. 3 DN aliens, genetically modified human hosts, circled her position, firing globules of viscous slime that ate through her magical defenses on contact. Any time now, Kevin, she called out, reinforcing her shields with a fresh surge of magenta energy. Kevin Levin smashed through a nearby wall, his body coated in concrete. Working on it. He tackled the nearest DN alien, his enhanced strength sending it flying across the abandoned subway station. The hybrid commander watched from a raised platform, his 4 arms folded across his chest. Your resistance is pointless, humans. The terraforming process has already begun. That's what they all say, Gwen replied, launching mana discs that sliced through the remaining DN aliens' weapons. Right before we shut them down. A flash of green light announced Ben's arrival, descending through a maintenance shaft in his Green Lantern uniform. Sorry I'm late, he called, creating a massive green hammer construct that swept the DN aliens aside. Intergalactic politics. Super boring, wouldn't recommend. The hybrid commander straightened, his red eyes narrowing. Tennyson. Your new powers do not impress me. All inferior species will fall before the hybrid. Yeah, purity of bloodlines, superior genetics, heard it all before. Ben landed beside Gwen, ring glowing. Ready to wrap this up. I've had a long day of being yelled at by ancient cosmic beings. What did the Guardians want? Gwen asked, maintaining her shield as Kevin rejoined them. Not just the Guardians. Azimuth showed up too. Apparently, everyone's worried about the Omnitrix and Ring interacting. Are they? Kevin asked, brushing concrete dust from his shoulders. Potentially reality-destroying levels of worried, Ben confirmed. But they're working on it. The hybrid commander interrupted their conversation by leaping from the platform, landing heavily before them. Your attention should be on your imminent defeat, not trivial conversations. He's right, Gwen said. Superhero now, catch up later. The hybrid attacked with blinding speed, one massive fist breaking through Gwen's shield. Ben created a defensive wall construct, but the hybrid smashed through it with disturbing ease. Physical constructs won't stop him, Kevin warned, absorbing metal from nearby train tracks. These guys can punch through reinforced steel. Then let's try something different. Ben twisted the Omnitrix dial, cycling through alien forms. Going Swampfire should, the hybrid's attack hit Ben before he could transform, sending him crashing into a support column. His concentration broken, the ring's energy flickered momentarily. Ben! Gwen cried, firing mana blasts that the hybrid barely noticed. Kevin engaged the alien commander directly, his metal-coated fists landing solid blows that seemed to have minimal effect. Any day now, Tennyson. Ben picked himself up, shaking his head to clear it. The Omnitrix and Ring both pulsed, their energies synchronizing in response to his adrenaline spike. An idea formed. Time for a new approach, he muttered. Instead of using the Omnitrix to transform completely, Ben dialed to Swampfire but only partially activated the transformation. Green energy from both devices merged as his body took on some of Swampfire's plant-like qualities while maintaining his humanoid form and lantern uniform. What the? Kevin stared mid-fight. Ben's hands erupted with a combination of methane flames and green energy. Let's see how the hybrid handles a little hybrid power. He launched forward, propelled by ring energy while trailing Swampfire's flames. The combined attack caught the hybrid off guard, sending the commander staggering backward. Impressive adaptation, the hybrid admitted grudgingly. But still futile. We'll see about that. Ben created green energy constructs shaped like vines, infusing them with Swampfire's regenerative properties. The constructs wrapped around the hybrid, tightening and regrowing whenever the alien tore them apart. Gwen watched with wide eyes. Ben, your energy signature is changing. The mana around you is fluctuating. Is that bad? Ben asked, maintaining his focus on the constructs. I don't know, but it's definitely different. The hybrid commander struggled against the living energy constructs, gradually weakening as Ben increased the pressure. Finally, the alien collapsed, temporarily subdued. Ben released the transformation, reverting fully to human form while maintaining his lantern uniform. A wave of dizziness hit him, forcing him to one knee. Whoa, he breathed. That was intense. Kevin approached, helping him up. What did you just do? That wasn't a full transformation. Partial DNA activation, Ben explained, steadying himself. I've been practicing. The ring seems to connect with the Omnitrix at an energy level. I can access some alien abilities without full transformation. Gwen frowned, studying him with glowing eyes. Your mana signature is still fluctuating. The energies haven't fully separated. Is that dangerous? Kevin asked. According to everyone who yelled at me today, potentially universe-ending, Ben said with forced lightness. He took a deep breath, concentrating on stabilizing the ring's energy. After a moment, the fluctuation subsided. Plumber agents arrived to take the hybrid and remaining DN aliens into custody. As the team headed back to the surface, Ben filled them in on the meeting with Azimuth and the Guardians. So basically, you've got two sets of space parents fighting over custody, Kevin summarized with a smirk. Pretty much, Ben sighed. Azimuth thinks the Guardians are being reckless. The Guardians think Azimuth is overreacting. Meanwhile, I'm stuck in the middle trying not to accidentally tear reality apart. You know, Gwen said thoughtfully, there might be a connection between these powers that they're missing. Ben glanced at her. What do you mean? The way your energies fluctuated just now, it reminded me of how mana behaves when it interacts with different dimensional frequencies. There was harmony in the chaos, like they were meant to work together somehow. Don't tell Azimuth that, Ben warned. He'll probably build another failsafe to shut down the Omnitrix if I so much as look at the ring funny. They reached the surface, emerging in an abandoned subway entrance. Night had fallen over Bellwood, the city lights twinkling in the distance. Where's Hal? Kevin asked, noticing the senior lantern's absence. Core business, Ben replied. Something about yellow energy signatures detected in neighboring sectors. He's checking it out while I handle things here. Gwen placed a hand on Ben's arm. Be careful with these power combinations, Ben. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Says the girl who regularly combines magic from a dozen different dimensions, Ben retorted with a grin. That's different. I understand the energies I'm working with. And I'm learning, Ben insisted. That's what all this training is for. Kevin glanced at his phone. Speaking of which, your grandpa wants us back at HQ. Something about unusual energy readings across town. Ben's ring pulsed in response, as if confirming the information. Let's go. I've had enough lectures for one day, time for some action. Plummer headquarters buzzed with activity when they arrived. Max Tennyson stood at the central command console, reviewing data with several other agents. There you are, Max said as Ben, Gwen, and Kevin entered. Good work with the hybrid situation. What's going on, Grandpa? Gwen asked, noting the intensity in the command center. Max gestured to the main screen, which displayed a map of Bellwood with multiple yellow points pulsing at different locations. We've detected energy signatures matching those from Sinestro's previous visit. They appeared simultaneously at 5 different locations about 20 minutes ago. Ben studied the pattern. They're forming a pentagon around the city center. Exactly, Max confirmed. And they're growing stronger. Whatever Sinestro's planning, it's happening now. We should split up, Kevin suggested. Hit all 5 locations at once. Agreed, Max nodded. I've already dispatched Plummer teams to 3 sites. You'll take the remaining 2. He looked at Ben. Have you heard from Hal? Ben shook his head. Not since we got back from OA. His ring would alert mine if he was in trouble, though. Unless something was blocking the signal, Gwen pointed out. Yellow energy can interfere with Green Lantern communications, Ben acknowledged. But Hal can handle himself. Max brought up detailed information on their assigned locations. Gwen, Kevin, you'll take the abandoned Tekadon factory on the east side. Ben, you've got the University Research Center. Both places have reported power outages and strange phenomena in the last hour. What exactly are we looking for? Kevin asked. Anything connected to Sinestro or yellow energy sources, Max replied. Observation only. Do not engage unless absolutely necessary. When is it ever that easy? Ben muttered. I mean it, Max said firmly. Especially you, Ben. After what Azimuth and the Guardian said today, we can't risk a full-scale confrontation without understanding the energy interactions better. Ben wanted to argue but knew his grandfather was right. Fine. Reconnaissance only. I promise. Stay in constant contact, Max instructed. If you find anything significant, report immediately and wait for backup. The team collected their equipment and prepared to move out. As they headed for the exit, Ben pulled Gwen aside. That thing you said earlier, about the energies seeming harmonious. Gwen nodded. What about it? Could you tell if it was happening again? If the Omnitrix and ring started? I don't know, syncing up somehow. Probably, Gwen replied. Why? Ben glanced at his ring, then at the Omnitrix. Just a hunch. If Sinestro's interested in these power sources, maybe understanding how they work together is the key to stopping him. Or exactly what he's counting on, Gwen cautioned. Be careful, Ben. We don't know what we're dealing with yet. They rejoined Kevin at the vehicles. With a final nod to each other, they split up, Gwen and Kevin toward the factory, Ben toward the university. As Ben flew through the night sky, ring glowing softly, he couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger than Sinestro was at play. The concerns of Azimuth and the Guardians, the strange energy harmonics Gwen had noticed, the simultaneous appearance of yellow energy signatures, it all pointed to a connection they weren't seeing yet. What are you really after, Sinestro? Ben murmured as he approached the darkened university campus. The research center stood silent and dark, emergency lights providing the only illumination. As Ben landed at the main entrance, his ring pulsed with a warning, yellow energy detected nearby. Stealth mode, Ben whispered to his ring. The bright green of his uniform dimmed to a darker shade, making him harder to spot in the shadows. The doors had been forced open, their security systems disabled. Ben moved cautiously inside, creating a small light construct to guide his way. The facility specialized in quantum physics research, exactly the kind of place that might interest someone trying to manipulate fundamental cosmic forces. As he approached the main laboratory, voices echoed from within. Ben extinguished his light construct and pressed against the wall, listening. "The calibrations are complete," a familiar voice announced. "Dr. Onimo, supposedly in Plummer custody. The quantum resonator is ready for activation." "Excellent," another voice replied, cultured, confident, unmistakably Sinestro. "And you're certain this will access the dimensional frequency we require?" "My calculations are flawless," Onimo assured him. "The device will punch through the quantum barrier directly to the source energy that powers both the Omnitrix and the central power battery." Ben's breath caught. How had Onimo escaped custody? And how did he know about the energy source connection? The other devices? Sinestro inquired. "All synchronized. When activated simultaneously, they'll create a containment field around Bellwood. Nothing will get in, or out, until we've completed the extraction." Ben had heard enough. He activated his communicator. "Grandpa, Sinestro and Onimo are at the research center. They've built some kind of quantum device to access the power sources of both the Omnitrix and the Lantern battery." "Ben, wait for backup," Max responded immediately. "This confirms our suspicions that all 5 locations are connected. Gwen and Kevin have found similar technology at the factory." "There's no time," Ben whispered urgently. "They're about to activate it." Inside the lab, machinery hummed to life. A sickly yellow glow spilled from beneath the door. "Ben, do not engage," Max ordered. "That's a direct." The communication cut off as yellow energy surged throughout the building. Emergency systems failed, plunging the hallway into darkness except for the pulsing yellow light from the laboratory. "So much for reconnaissance," Ben muttered. He created a shield construct around himself and kicked open the laboratory door. The scene inside froze him in place. A massive device occupied the center of the lab, resembling a particle accelerator wrapped around a pulsing yellow core. Dr. Onimo stood at the controls, his body subtly altered, yellow energy lines running beneath his skin like circuitry. Beside him hovered Sinestro, yellow ring glowing brilliantly. "Ah, the young lantern arrives," Sinestro greeted him with a cold smile. "Right on schedule." "Schedule?" Ben tensed, ring at the ready. "Of course. Did you think your presence here was coincidental?" Sinestro gestured expansively. "The energy signatures were bait, Tennyson. We needed you, or more specifically, the devices you carry, to complete our work." Ben created a barrier between himself and the machine. "Whatever you're planning stops now, Sinestro." "On the contrary," Sinestro replied calmly. "It's already begun." He nodded to Onimo, who adjusted several controls. The machine pulsed, emitting a directed beam of yellow energy that struck Ben's shield. Instead of attacking him directly, the beam seemed to analyze his energy signature, focusing particularly on the Omnitrix and ring. "Quantum signatures confirmed," Onimo announced, reading data from a display. "The Omnitrix's connection to the Primus source is accessible. The ring's connection to the central battery identified." "What are you doing?" Ben demanded, maintaining his shield despite the increasing pressure from the yellow beam. "Science, my boy," Onimo cackled. "Pure, revolutionary science. The Omnitrix and the power rings both draw energy from fundamental cosmic forces, different aspects of the same primal power. We're simply tapping directly into the source." Ben's mind raced. This matched what Azimuth and Ganthet had been investigating, a connection between the power sources that no one had recognized before. "The Pentagon formation," Ben realized aloud. "You're creating some kind of energy net around Bellwood." "Perceptive," Sinestro acknowledged. "The 5 quantum resonators will synchronize to create a dimensional aperture. Through it, we can access the source directly, without the limitations imposed by the Guardians or Azimuth's safeguards. That kind of power could destabilize reality," Ben warned, remembering Azimuth's concerns. "Only temporarily," Sinestro assured him. "Once properly contained, the energy can be harnessed safely. Think of the possibilities, Tennyson," unlimited power to reshape worlds, cure diseases, end conflicts. Right, because that's totally what you'd use it for, Ben retorted. Not universal domination or anything. Sinestro smiled thinly. You've spent too much time with Jordan. Not all progress requires Guardian approval. The yellow beam intensified, probing Ben's shield with increasing pressure. He felt the Omnitrix warming on his wrist, responding to the energy analysis. Omnitrix energy signature isolated, Onimo reported. Commencing extraction sequence. A second beam, focused specifically on the Omnitrix, shot from the machine. This one penetrated Ben's shield as if it wasn't there, connecting directly with the device on his wrist. Pain lanced up Ben's arm as the Omnitrix glowed brightly. Arg! What are you doing to it? Not to it, through it, Sinestro corrected. Your Omnitrix is merely a conduit to Primus, just as your ring is a conduit to the central battery. We're establishing a direct connection to both simultaneously. Ben tried to break free from the beam, but found himself immobilized. The Omnitrix cycled rapidly through alien silhouettes, responding to the external energy manipulation. Fight it, Tennyson, Sinestro urged, almost gently. The more you resist, the stronger the connection becomes. Your willpower is what makes this possible. Realizing Sinestro was right, his struggle was somehow feeding the process, Ben changed tactics. Instead of fighting against the energy beam, he reached for the Omnitrix dial. Let's see how your calculations handle a wild card, he shouted, slapping down the dial. Green light flashed, temporarily disrupting the yellow beam. Ben's form shifted, growing taller and bulkier. Humongousaur. The transformation broke the energy connection momentarily. Ben charged forward, aiming for the machine's control panel. Sinestro intercepted him, creating a yellow energy barrier that Ben crashed into headfirst. The alien forms are accounted for in our calculations, Sinestro informed him. In fact, they provide valuable data on how the Omnitrix accesses Primus energy. Ben roared in frustration, growing larger as Humongousaur's size-changing ability activated. He smashed through the yellow barrier, but Onimo had already recalibrated the machine. A new beam struck him, this one adapting to his transformed state. Interesting, Onimo observed. The Vaxasaurian DNA channels Primus energy differently than human baseline. Note the fluctuation patterns, Sinestro. Enough analysis, Sinestro commanded. Synchronize with the other resonators. It's time. Onimo pressed a sequence of controls. The machine's hum deepened, vibrating through the floor and walls. Outside, the sky lit up with yellow energy as the 5 locations activated simultaneously. Ben fought against the beam's hold, but found it nearly impossible to move. The Omnitrix symbol on his chest glowed painfully bright, while the ring on his finger pulsed in response. What's happening? He gasped, feeling energy being drawn from both devices. The convergence begins, Sinestro announced, satisfaction evident in his voice. Soon, the source energy will be ours to command. A massive surge of power coursed through Ben, using him as a conduit between the Omnitrix and ring. The pain was excruciating, forcing him back to human form in a flash of green light. His Green Lantern uniform flickered but remained active. Through the laboratory windows, Ben could see yellow energy lines connecting across the Bellwood sky, forming a perfect pentagram with the university at one point. At its center, directly above the city, a distortion began to form, reality itself bending under the strain. Gwen. Kevin. Ben gasped into his communicator, unsure if it still functioned. The sky, convergence. Across town at the Tekadon factory, Gwen and Kevin faced their own crisis. A similar machine pulsed with yellow energy, operated by yellow-infused humans who moved with robotic precision. Whatever they're doing, it's happening at all 5 sites simultaneously, Kevin reported into his plumber badge, voice strained as he fought off 2 attackers. Gwen maintained a mana shield around them, but the yellow energy seemed to eat through her magical defenses with disturbing ease. The energy patterns are destabilizing local spacetime. I can feel reality thinning. Ben's at the university, Max's voice crackled through, distorted by interference. He's encountered Sinestro and Animo. All teams, shut down these devices immediately. Kevin absorbed metal from a nearby machine, armoring himself before smashing into the device's control panel. Sparks flew, but the machine continued functioning. It's self-repairing, he reported in frustration. Targeting the controls isn't working. Gwen studied the energy flows with her magical senses. The yellow beams connecting to the sky seemed to pulse in a specific pattern, resonating with something in the center of the pentagram formation. It's not about the individual machines, she realized. They're working in concert, drawing power from somewhere else. She concentrated, extending her magical awareness beyond the factory. The yellow energy carried a strange harmonic, not just fear as Ben had described from his training, but something deeper, more primal. There's something else, she muttered. Something hiding within the yellow energy. Something, hungry. One of the yellow-infused workers spoke, its voice unnaturally calm despite the chaos. The convergence will feed him. The parallelity will be restored. Parallelity? Kevin repeated. What is that, some kind of dimensional thing? Gwen's eyes widened with sudden understanding. Not parallelity. Parallax. It's a name. She refocused her mana, shifting its frequency to directly counter the yellow energy. To her surprise, her magenta energy briefly disrupted the yellow beam connecting to the sky. Kevin. My mana can interrupt the energy flow, she called out excitedly. It's not just fear energy, it's sentient somehow, and my life energy disrupts its pattern. Kevin fought his way back to her side. Great, but can you shut down all 5 machines at once? Not alone, Gwen admitted. But maybe. She activated her plumber badge. All teams, this is Gwen Tennyson. The yellow energy can be disrupted by life force energy, mana, in my case. Try using living energy sources against the machines. At Plumber HQ, Max processed this information quickly. Redirecting teams to implement Gwen's strategy. Ben, do you copy? Ben. No response came from the university site. In the research center laboratory, Ben struggled against the energy beams still holding him immobile. His ring and the Omnitrix both pulsed erratically, their energies being channeled into the growing distortion above Bellwood. The connection is stabilizing, Animo reported, monitoring readings. Dimensional breach at 80%. Excellent, Sinestro nodded. Soon, Parallax will be able to cross over completely. Ben's eyes widened at the name. Parallax? That wasn't in the core training manual. The Guardians prefer to keep certain entities out of the official records, Sinestro explained, watching the distortion grow. Parallax is fear embodied, a being of pure emotional energy that once nearly destroyed the core. And you're helping it come back? Ben asked incredulously. That seems like a bad idea, even for a villain. Not helping it, Sinestro corrected. Controlling it. Parallax's power, properly harnessed, can restructure reality itself. Combined with the Primus energy that powers the Omnitrix, nothing will be beyond our reach. Ben noticed something odd, while Sinestro spoke with confidence, his yellow ring flickered subtly, as if responding to uncertainty its wielder wouldn't acknowledge. You don't control fear, Ben said, forcing strength into his voice despite the pain. Fear controls you. That's what the core taught me. Sinestro's expression hardened. Naive own propaganda. Those who understand fear can master it. Then why is your ring flickering? Ben challenged. It doesn't look like mastery to me. For the first time, Sinestro glanced at his ring with surprise. The yellow energy indeed pulsed irregularly, synchronizing with the growing distortion rather than his will. Animo. Sinestro barked. Status report. The scientist looked up from his controls, confusion evident on his face. Energy patterns are shifting. Something's interfering with the convergence. Ben felt it too, a change in the energy flowing through him. The painful drain lessened slightly, replaced by a strange resonance between the Omnitrix and his power ring. Both devices pulsed in perfect harmony, neither yielding to the yellow energy's pull. The willpower matrix is adapting, Onimo observed with scientific detachment despite the situation. The Omnitrix's preservation protocols are synchronizing with the ring's defensive functions. Ben concentrated on that synchronization, encouraging the devices to work together rather than fighting their connection. Green energy began to flow alongside the yellow beams, gradually strengthening. "What are you doing?" Sinestro demanded, noticing the change. "Taking your advice," Ben replied through gritted teeth. "Using my willpower." The Omnitrix symbol flashed, cycling rapidly through alien silhouettes before stopping on one Ben recognized immediately. "Of course," he whispered. "The perfect conductor." With tremendous effort, Ben reached for the Omnitrix dial, fighting against the energy field holding him immobile. His fingers brushed the device, and with one final push of willpower, he slammed it down. Feedback. Green light engulfed him as his form changed into the conductoid alien, tall, black and white, with plug-like appendages on his fingers and antennae. The Green Lantern uniform adapted to fit his new form, the ring still glowing on one finger. Energy absorption, Sinestro realized too late. The conductoid species. Ben, as feedback, grinned. "That's right. And guess what I'm about to do with all that energy you've been pumping into me?" He extended his plug-tipped fingers, connecting directly with the yellow beams. Instead of being drained by them, he began absorbing their energy, redirecting it through his body. "No!" Onimo shouted, frantically adjusting controls. "He'll overload the system." "Too late," Ben replied. His body crackled with combined yellow and green energy, the Omnitrix symbol and power ring glowing with blinding intensity. Now for the real light show. He directed the absorbed energy into his ring, using it to create a construct unlike any he'd formed before, a massive green lantern that rose through the ceiling, hovering above the building. The construct pulsed with purified energy, yellow traces transformed to green through feedback's natural abilities. "Impossible," Sinestro breathed, watching as the Green Lantern construct grew, countering the yellow distortion above the city. "Anything's possible with the right combination," Ben replied. Feedback's natural confidence amplified by the rush of power. "Omnitrix versatility plus lantern will equals your worst nightmare." The Green Lantern construct emitted a pulse of energy that traveled along the pentagram formation, disrupting the yellow beams connecting the 5 sites. Across Bellwood, the quantum resonators faltered as their energy network collapsed. In the factory, Gwen felt the shift immediately. "Ben," she whispered, recognizing her cousin's energy signature in the green pulse. "He's countering the entire network." At Plummer HQ, monitors showed the yellow distortion shrinking as green energy pushed it back. "What's happening?" Max demanded. "The quantum aperture is collapsing," a technician reported. "Something's neutralizing the yellow energy with Green Lantern energy, but different somehow. More complex." In the laboratory, Sinestro watched his plan unraveling with barely contained fury. "This isn't over, Tennyson. Parallax has already begun crossing over. You've merely delayed the inevitable." Ben continued channeling energy through Feedback's body into his ring construct, pushing back against the dimensional breach. "Doesn't look delayed to me. Looks pretty cancelled." Sinestro exchanged glances with Onimo, then made a decision. "Strategic withdrawal, Doctor. Now." Before Ben could stop them, Sinestro created a yellow portal behind them. Onimo hesitated, looking at his machine with reluctance. "My research is portable," Sinestro assured him, tapping his temple. "We have what we need." They stepped through the portal, which closed instantly behind them. Ben wanted to pursue but couldn't break his connection to the energy network without risking a catastrophic release. Cowards, he muttered, focusing on completing the energy conversion. With a final surge of willpower, Ben directed all the absorbed power into his construct. The green lantern above the city flared brilliantly, sending a wave of purified energy through the pentagram formation. The yellow distortion in the sky collapsed entirely, reality snapping back into its proper configuration. The sudden release of tension sent Ben staggering backward. He reverted to human form, exhausted but triumphant. His Green Lantern uniform flickered momentarily before stabilizing. Ben. Ben, do you copy? Max's voice came through his communicator, finally breaking through the interference. I'm here, Grandpa, Ben replied tiredly. Sinestro and Animo got away, but their machine is neutralized. Same at all sites, Max confirmed. Whatever you did, it worked. The energy signatures are dissipating. Ben leaned against a nearby wall, catching his breath. It was feedback. His energy absorption combined with the ring's constructs let me redirect the entire network. The readings we got were off the charts, Max said, concern evident in his voice. Are you okay? Tired, Ben admitted. But okay. The Omnitrix and ring, they work together somehow. Like they recognized the same threat and synchronized to counter it. Gwen reported something similar, Max told him. Her mana disrupted the yellow energy too. There seems to be a connection between life energy, willpower, and whatever Sinestro was trying to access. Ben glanced at the disabled machine, still humming faintly despite being disconnected from the network. We should contain this tech. Animo mentioned something called Parallax, some kind of fear entity that Sinestro wanted to bring through. Already dispatching containment teams, Max assured him. Get back to HQ for debriefing. Ben activated his ring, rising unsteadily into the air. On my way. Plumber headquarters buzzed with activity as teams returned from securing the 5 sites. Engineers examined fragments of the quantum resonators while analysts reviewed energy readings from the event. Ben sat in the medical bay, submitting to Gwen's examination of his energy signature. Her hands glowed with mana as she assessed the interaction between the Omnitrix and Power Ring. The resonance pattern is still present, she noted with concern. Fainter, but definitely there. The devices are communicating at some level. Is that dangerous? Ben asked. Hard to say, Gwen replied. It's stable for now, but when you used feedback's powers through the ring, that was something else entirely. The energy amplification was exponential. Kevin entered with several metal components salvaged from the machines. Check these out. The alloys are weird, partly Galvan tech, partly something I've never seen before. Yellow Lantern technology, Hal Jordan's voice came from the doorway. The senior lantern looked battered, his uniform torn in places. Sorry I'm late to the party. Sinestro had a diversion planned in the neighboring sector, kept me busy while he implemented his real scheme here. How? Ben stood quickly. What happened? Ambush, Hal explained grimly. Yellow Lanterns attacked a Green Lantern outpost. By the time I realized it was a diversion, Sinestro had already begun his operation here. Max joined them, carrying a data pad. Preliminary analysis confirms what Ben reported. Sinestro was attempting to create a dimensional aperture to extract energy directly from something called parallax. Not just extract energy from it, Hal corrected. Release it. Parallax is an entity of pure fear, a parasite that feeds on the yellow emotional spectrum. It was imprisoned in the central power battery on OA after nearly destroying the core years ago. So why would Sinestro want to release something that dangerous? Kevin asked. Power, Hal replied simply. Parallax represents the purest form of yellow energy in existence. If Sinestro could control it. But he mentioned the Omnitrix power source too, Ben pointed out. Something about Primus energy and combining it with this parallax thing. Before Hal could respond, a blue teleportation beam materialized in the center of the room. Azimuth appeared, looking even more displeased than usual. I leave you alone for less than a day, the Galvan creator said to Ben, and you nearly tear a hole in the fabric of reality. Not my fault this time, Ben defended himself. Sinestro started it. Azimuth hopped onto a nearby console to reach eye level. Nevertheless, the energy readings from that event confirmed our worst fears. The Omnitrix and the power ring created a resonance pattern that briefly connected to both Primus and the central power battery simultaneously. Is that what Sinestro was trying to do? Max asked. That was merely a side effect, a new voice responded. Guardian Ganthet appeared in another teleportation beam. Sinestro's goal was more ambitious, and more dangerous. The room fell silent as the ancient Guardian surveyed them all with his penetrating gaze. Azimuth and I have completed our preliminary investigation, Ganthet announced. And we have made a disturbing discovery. The Omnitrix's connection to Primus and the Power Ring's connection to the central battery share a cosmic origin point. What does that mean in English? Kevin asked. Azimuth sighed. It means, primitive human, that the fundamental energy that powers the Omnitrix and the fundamental energy that powers the emotional spectrum, including the Green Lantern rings, originated from the same cosmic source. A source that predates the current universe, Ganthet added. What you might call the building blocks of creation itself. Ben looked at his wrist, then at his ring with new appreciation. So these devices are basically cosmic cousins? A crude but not entirely inaccurate analogy, Azimuth conceded. The Omnitrix accesses this energy through genetic manipulation, the fundamental code of life itself. The power rings access it through emotional connection, the fundamental forces of consciousness. And Sinestro discovered this connection, Hal realized. That's why he's been studying the Omnitrix. Ganthet nodded solemnly. With both energy sources combined, one could theoretically access the primal force directly, unlimited power to reshape reality according to one's will. That's what he's after, Ben said quietly. Not just parallax, but what's beyond it. Which makes your unique situation both fortuitous and dangerous, Azimuth told Ben. You now wield both devices, the only being in the universe to do so. This makes you both our greatest asset and our greatest concern. The synchronization you achieved with the conductoid transformation, Ganthet noted, was particularly significant. It suggests a level of harmony between the technologies that we had not anticipated. Ben remembered the rush of power, the way Feedback's natural abilities had amplified both the ring and Omnitrix simultaneously. It felt right. Like they were meant to work together through me. That perception may be exactly what Parallax wants you to feel, Hal warned. It's an entity of extraordinary cunning. If it's aware of you now, aware of your potential, it will stop at nothing to possess that power. A technician interrupted with an urgent report for Max. After reviewing it, Max turned to the group with a grave expression. Energy readings from all 5 sites just spiked again. Whatever was coming through hasn't given up. Parallax, Hal confirmed, his ring glowing in response to the threat. Sinestro may have retreated, but he succeeded in creating a foothold for it in this dimension. Then we seal it, Ben said determinedly, standing up. Right now, before it gets stronger. Azimuth and Ganthet exchanged concerned glances. It's not that simple, Azimuth said. Parallax exists partially outside normal spacetime. Conventional methods won't contain it. But I did it before, Ben argued. With Feedback and the ring working together. Temporarily, Ganthet cautioned. And at great risk. The energy combination you channeled was highly unstable. So what's the alternative? Ben challenged. We just let this fear monster break through and take over. An uncomfortable silence followed. Finally, Azimuth spoke. There is a theoretical approach. The Omnitrix contains transformation data for a species called the Chronosopians. Their temporal manipulation abilities, combined with a Green Lantern ring's reality enforcement properties, might create a dimensional seal. Clockwork, Ben nodded, familiar with the transformation. But I've never tried using his powers with the ring. The combination would be unprecedented, Ganthet acknowledged. And potentially dangerous for the wielder. Which is why we need to test it first, Hal interjected. Under controlled conditions. There's no time for testing, Max pointed out, checking the latest readings. The energy spikes are increasing exponentially. Within an hour, we'll have full breaches at all 5 sites. Ben looked around at the concerned faces, his family, his mentors, 2 of the universe's greatest intellects. All worried about what might happen if he tried to combine these powers again. All more afraid of what would happen if he didn't. I'll do it, he said firmly. But I'll need help. Gwen, your mana disrupted the yellow energy before. Kevin, you channeled the combined energies when they overloaded. Grandpa, how? I need you coordinating the response at all 5 sites. And what of us? Azimuth asked dryly. You too, Ben replied, looking between Azimuth and Ganthet, need to figure out a more permanent solution. Because something tells me this is just the beginning. As the group dispersed to prepare, Hal pulled Ben aside. The Guardians won't approve of this, he warned quietly. Combining Omnitrix and Ring powers at this scale. Do we have a choice? Ben asked. Hal's expression softened. No. But be careful, rookie. What you're attempting, it's beyond anything the Corps has trained for. That's kind of my specialty, Ben replied with a confident smile that hid his inner uncertainty. One more thing, Hal added. About Sinestro, he doesn't give up. And he doesn't make mistakes. If he retreated, it was part of his plan. Noted, Ben nodded. I'll watch my back. Watch everything, Hal corrected. When fear itself is your enemy, nowhere is safe. The University Research Center had been evacuated, a plumber containment field established around the entire campus. The quantum resonator in the laboratory still pulsed with yellow energy, connected to an invisible dimensional tear hovering above it. Ben stood before the machine, ring at the ready, Omnitrix primed. Behind him, Gwen maintained a mana shield around the laboratory while Kevin, his body coated in a special alloy developed by plumber engineers, monitored energy fluctuations. The other sites are secured, Max reported through the comm system. All teams standing by. Remember, Hal added from his position at another site, synchronize the sealing process across all locations simultaneously. If even one breach remains open, Parallax can use it to maintain its foothold. Ben took a deep breath, centering himself as Kilowog had taught him during training. Ready when you are, Grandpa. Commencing in 3, 2, 1, now. Ben activated the Omnitrix, selecting Clockwork Silhouette. As the transformation began, he simultaneously channeled ring energy, creating a construct that enhanced and directed Clockwork's temporal abilities. Clockwork. The mechanical alien's form melded with the Green Lantern uniform, gears and symbols integrating seamlessly. The key-like protrusion on his head glowed with both green and copper energy. Energy synchronization stable, Kevin reported, monitoring the readings. Whatever you're going to do it now. Ben focused Clockwork's temporal powers through the ring, creating a construct shaped like an enormous clock face around the dimensional tear. Green energy intertwined with temporal waves, slowing the breach's expansion. It's working. Gwen called out. The breach is contracting. Similar reports came in from the other 4 sites, where plumber teams used devices based on Azimuth and Ganthet specifications to replicate the effect. Then, without warning, the yellow energy intensified. The quantum resonators hummed deep into a threatening growl. Something's pushing back, Ben warned, straining to maintain the temporal construct. It's fighting the containment. Through the dimensional tear, a pair of enormous yellow eyes became visible, malevolent, ancient, hungry. Parallax, Kevin whispered, recognizing the entity from descriptions in Null Void Legends. A voice emanated from the breach, not sound, but fear itself given form, reverberating through their minds. Tennyson. 2 powers. Mine. The yellow energy lashed out, targeting Ben specifically. It wrapped around his transformed body, probing for weaknesses in the connection between Clockwork's abilities and the ring's energy. Ben! Gwen cried, reinforcing her mana shield around him. I'm holding. Ben replied through gritted teeth. The combination of Clockwork's time manipulation and the ring's willpower fought against Parallax's intrusion. But I can't close it completely. Kevin checked the readings frantically. The energy pattern is changing. It's adapting to the temporal field. All teams reporting the same. Max's voice came through, tense with concern. The breaches are stabilizing but not closing. Ben realized the problem immediately. Clockwork's abilities could contain the breach, but not reverse it. The entity had already established too strong a connection. Different approach, he gasped, feeling Parallax's energy probing deeper, seeking the connection between his two power sources. A sudden insight struck him. If Parallax wanted the connection between the Omnitrix and the ring, perhaps that connection itself was the key to defeating it. Gwen, Ben called out, remember when you said the energies seemed harmonic? I need you to match your mana to that frequency. Understanding dawned in Gwen's eyes. She modified her shield, attuning her magical energy to the resonance pattern between the Omnitrix and ring. Kevin, be ready to ground any overflow, Ben instructed. This might get intense. Story of my life hanging out with you, Kevin replied, moving closer. Ben focused inward, finding the point where Clockwork's abilities and the ring's energy met. Instead of keeping them separate, he deliberately encouraged them to synchronize fully. Green and copper energy swirled around him, creating a vortex that pulled the yellow energy from the breach back toward him. Parallax's presence pushed harder, sensing opportunity. Yes. Come to me. Not exactly, Ben replied, timing his move perfectly. As the yellow energy reached its peak concentration, Ben slapped the Omnitrix symbol on his chest. Green light flashed as he transformed again. Feedback. The conductoid form appeared, still integrated with the Green Lantern uniform. Without hesitation, Ben thrust his plug-tipped fingers directly into the stream of yellow energy. What are you doing? Kevin shouted in alarm. Fighting fear with its opposite, Ben replied, his voice confident despite the strain. Willpower and hope. Feedback's natural energy absorption abilities drew in the yellow power, channeling it through his body. Instead of being overwhelmed, Ben directed it into his ring, which glowed with increasing brightness. In brightest day, Ben began reciting, his voice strengthening with each word, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. The Green Lantern oath acted as a focus for his willpower, a declaration of intent that the ring amplified. As he spoke, the yellow energy flowing into him began to change, traces of green appearing within it. Let those who worship evil's might, beware my power. Green Lantern's light. With the final words, Ben unleashed the transformed energy back into the breach. Pure green willpower surged into the dimensional tear, driving Parallax's presence backward. The entity shrieked, a sound of rage and fear that paradoxically weakened its own power. The yellow eyes widened in surprise as green energy forced them back through the breach. Now! Ben shouted to the teams at the other sites. Simultaneously, all 5 quantum resonators were overloaded with the transformed green energy. The dimensional tiers contracted rapidly, reality sealing itself as Parallax's connection was severed. In the laboratory, the quantum resonator sparked and smoked before shutting down completely. The yellow glow faded, replaced by normal emergency lighting. Ben collapsed to his knees, exhausted but triumphant. He reverted to human form, the Green Lantern uniform remaining despite his fatigue. Energy signatures dropping at all sites, Kevin reported, checking the monitors. The breaches are closed. Did we beat it? Gwen asked cautiously. Not beat it, Ben replied, struggling to his feet. Pushed it back. It's still out there, but its connection to our dimension is broken. Reports from the other sites confirmed the same result, all breaches sealed, no trace of yellow energy remaining. The immediate crisis had passed. As Plummer team secured the quantum resonator for transport, Ben looked at his power ring, then at the Omnitrix. Both devices seemed ordinary again, their earlier synchronization faded but not forgotten. That was some light show, Tennyson, Kevin remarked, helping Ben toward the exit. For a minute there, I thought you were going to absorb Parallax entirely. Not my brightest idea, Ben admitted. That thing, it wasn't just an energy being. It was ancient. Intelligent. And it recognized both the Omnitrix and the ring immediately. It called you by name, Gwen pointed out with concern. Like it knew you specifically. Sinestro must have told it about me, Ben reasoned. Part of whatever arrangement they had. Kevin frowned. Speaking of which, where is Sinestro? He bailed right when things were getting interesting. That's what worries me, Ben replied as they exited the building. Sinestro doesn't seem like the type to abandon a plan entirely. This felt more like a test run. Above them, the night sky had returned to normal, stars twinkling peacefully as if nothing unusual had happened. But Ben couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had changed, not just in the world around them, but within himself. The connection he'd felt between the Omnitrix and the ring wasn't just technological. It was deeper, more personal, as if both devices were showing him parts of the same greater truth. A truth that Sinestro, Parallax, and perhaps others were also seeking. Whatever comes next, Ben said quietly, looking up at the stars, we'll be ready. In a dimension adjacent to normal space, Sinestro floated before a swirling mass of yellow energy. The entity within it pulsed with rage and frustration, its vast eyes narrowing as it regarded the Corrigarian. The boy resisted, Parallax's thought voice resonated in Sinestro's mind. The connection was broken. As expected, Sinestro replied calmly. The first attempt was merely to gauge his capabilities and the interaction between the devices. We've confirmed what we suspected, the Omnitrix and the power ring can indeed access the same primal energy source. He grows stronger. The devices harmonize. Also anticipated, Sinestro nodded. The boy's natural affinity for the conductoid transformation is particularly noteworthy. Its energy manipulation properties complement the ring perfectly. The plan proceeds. With modifications, Sinestro confirmed. Dr. Onimo's calculations were correct about the fundamental connection. Now we need only to exploit the resonance pattern established in the boy's energy signature. Parallax's form shifted, tendrils of yellow energy reaching towards Sinestro without quite touching him. And our agreement? Remains unchanged, Sinestro assured the entity. You will have the central power battery and the Guardians. I will have the Primus source and the Omnitrix. Together, we reshape the universe according to proper order, without chaos, without weakness. The boy must be broken. Sinestro's expression hardened. Benjamin Tennyson has overcome every challenge thrown at him thus far. Brute force will not break him. Then what? A cold smile spread across Sinestro's face. We don't break his body or even his will. We break his certainty. His belief in the order of things. How? By showing him the truth, that what he perceives as separate forces are merely fragments of a greater power that predates his guardians, predates Azimuth, predates everything he believes in. Parallax considered this, its vast consciousness churning with malevolent anticipation. The cosmic schism revealed. Precisely, Sinestro nodded. The boy must learn that his precious Green Lantern core and the Omnitrix he cherishes are built on the same broken foundation, a power divided against itself. And when he learns this, he will have a choice, Sinestro replied. To perpetuate the division, or to help us restore what was sundered at the dawn of creation. The entity's yellow eyes gleamed with cruel amusement. You believe he will join us willingly? I believe in the power of truth to change even the most dedicated heart, Sinestro said confidently. Especially when that truth reveals that everything he's fought for is based on a cosmic lie. Parallax's form condensed, growing more defined as it fed on Sinestro's absolute conviction. The preparations begin. They've already begun, Sinestro corrected, activating his yellow ring. It glowed with power, but now with subtle threads of other colors weaving through the yellow energy, green, blue, red, indigo, all part of the same spectrum, all connected. The boy has shown us how the devices interact, he continued. Now we need only push him to explore that connection further, until he discovers for himself what we already know. And if he resists? Sinestro's expression darkened. Then we take what we need by force. The resonance pattern is established in his energy signature. One way or another, Benjamin Tennyson will be the key that unlocks the power of creation itself. The yellow entity pulsed with satisfaction. Fear will lead him to US. Not fear alone, Sinestro corrected. Truth. For even the bravest heart falters when its foundational beliefs are proven false. As if in response, a dimensional ripple passed through their sanctuary. In that brief distortion, other entities became momentarily visible, vast presences of different colors, each representing a different emotional force, all watching with ancient interest as the cosmic game unfolded. Sinestro observed them without surprise. The pieces were moving into position. The cosmic board was set. And Benjamin Tennyson, unwitting though he might be, had just made the first move in a game that began before time itself. Chapter 3, Heroes United. The sky above Bellwood ripped open with a deafening crack. Yellow energy poured through the dimensional breach like toxic sunlight, casting everything in a sickly glow. Citizens stopped in the streets, paralyzed by sudden, inexplicable fear as the entity known as Parallax began its invasion. Ben Tennyson stood on the roof of Plummer headquarters, watching the breach expand. So much for, we pushed it back, he muttered, his Green Lantern uniform materializing around him as his ring responded to the threat. Max Tennyson burst through the roof access door, his plumber gear already activated. Energy signatures are off the charts. Whatever you did yesterday only delayed it. Yeah, got that memo, Ben replied, eyes fixed on the swirling yellow mass. Where are Gwen and Kevin? Downtown evacuation, Max replied. The fear effect is spreading, people are panicking or freezing in place. We need to contain this before, a beam of yellow energy shot from the breach, striking a downtown skyscraper. The building didn't explode or collapse, instead, it began to transform, its structure twisting into nightmarish shapes as the materials responded to Parallax's power. Before that happens, Max finished grimly. Ben's ring communicator activated, Hal Jordan's voice coming through urgently. Ben, are you seeing this? It's not just Bellwood, dimensional breaches are forming over major cities worldwide. London, Tokyo, Metropolis. Parallax is making its move, Ben confirmed, activating his ring. Green energy surrounded him as he prepared for flight. What's the core response? Every available lantern is mobilizing, but we're stretched thin. Something's draining power from the central battery on OA. Lanterns across the galaxy are reporting ring failures. Ben glanced at his own ring, which glowed steadily despite the report. Mine seems fine. That's because you have the Omnitrix, Asmatha's voice interrupted, the Galvan appearing via teleportation beam beside them on the roof. The connection between your devices is sustaining your ring's charge. Asmath. Perfect timing, Ben said. Please tell me you've figured out how to stop this thing permanently. The Galvan creator frowned at the dimensional breach. The situation is more complex than anticipated. Parallax isn't merely an entity of fear, it's a fundamental force of the emotional spectrum that predates the universe itself. Less history lesson, more solution, Ben urged. The solution and the history are one and the same, Asmath replied testily. What you're facing isn't just parallax, but a cosmic imbalance that's existed since the division of the primal energy source. A second teleportation beam materialized, revealing Guardian Ganthet. Unlike his usual calm demeanor, the ancient guardian looked distinctly worried. The breach to the fear dimension is complete, Ganthet announced without preamble. Parallax is free, and Sinestro has aligned with it fully. Tell them the rest, Azimuth prodded. Ganthet's expression grew graver. The central power battery on OA is failing. The emotional spectrum itself is becoming unstable as Parallax draws power from it. Not just green willpower energy, but all 7 spectrum forces. Ben looked between them. So what's the plan? Please tell me you have a plan. We have a theory, Azimuth said cautiously. A dangerous, potentially catastrophic theory, Ganthet amended. Those are my favorite kind, Ben said with forced cheerfulness. Let's hear it. Before either could explain, a yellow energy beam struck the building, shaking the foundation. The fear effect intensified, causing several plumbers exiting the building to collapse in terror. No time for debate, Max said firmly. Whatever you're planning, do it fast. Azimuth pulled a small device from his robe. This modulator will temporarily reconfigure the Omnitrix to synchronize with your ring at a quantum level. Instead of fighting the resonance between them, it will enhance it. The same resonance Parallax is trying to exploit? Ben asked skeptically. Precisely, Ganthet confirmed. But under controlled conditions, with your conscious direction. And the potential catastrophic part. Azimuth and Ganthet exchanged glances. The combined power could overwhelm your physical form, Azimuth admitted. Or create a feedback loop that expands the dimensional breach instead of closing it. Or both, Ganthet added unhelpfully. Ben looked at the spreading yellow energy, then at the city below where people were suffering. Doesn't sound like we have much choice. There is always a choice, Ben Tennyson, Ganthet said solemnly. That is why the ring chose you. Ben extended his wrist. Do it. Azimuth attached the modulator to the Omnitrix. The device whirred, its standard green glow taking on subtle variations as it synchronized with the power ring. The modification is temporary, Azimuth explained. It will last approximately 12 Earth hours before the Omnitrix resets to its standard configuration. Should be enough time, Ben said, flexing his hand as he felt the devices aligning. The sensation was strange, not uncomfortable, but like discovering a new muscle he hadn't known existed. Ben, Max gripped his grandson's shoulder. Whatever happens up there, remember who you are. Both these powers chose you for a reason. Ben nodded, then activated his ring. As he rose into the air, Hal Jordan appeared, flying toward him from the direction of the city center. Situation report. Ben called out as Hal reached him. Not good, Hal replied grimly. Parallax is feeding on the fear of the population, growing stronger with every person who succumbs. It's also draining power from every lantern in range. Except me, Ben noted, his ring still glowing brightly. That makes you our primary offensive asset, Hal confirmed. The Guardians have authorized a joint operation, Green Lanterns, plumbers, even local authorities if they can function through the fear effect. What about Sinestro? Central Command Center, Hal pointed toward the heart of downtown where the yellow energy was most concentrated. He's coordinating the fear entities Parallax has spawned throughout the city. Ben studied the spreading yellow tendrils. We need to evacuate civilians from the affected areas first. Already on it, Max said through the communicator. Plumber teams are establishing safe zones at these coordinates. A holographic map appeared from Ben's ring, showing green secure areas amidst the expanding yellow zones. Good, Ben nodded. Hal, can you coordinate the remaining lanterns? Focus on containment, stop Parallax from spreading further while we evacuate. And you? Hal asked. Ben's expression hardened as he looked toward the central breach. I'm going to have a chat with Sinestro. Downtown Bellwood had transformed into something from a collective nightmare. Buildings twisted into impossible shapes, streets rippled like liquid, and yellow energy constructs resembling people's deepest fears stalked the panicking crowds. Gwen Tennyson's mana shields flickered under constant assault as she protected a group of civilians. Her eyes glowed with magical energy as she searched for a safe evacuation route. "This way," she called, directing the group toward a subway entrance. "Kevin, cover the rear." Kevin Levin, his body coated in a strange alloy that partially resisted the yellow energy, fought off constructs that resembled mutated null void creatures. "Working on it. These things keep changing tactics. They're feeding on our fears," Gwen explained, reinforcing her shields. "The more afraid people get, the stronger and smarter the constructs become." A yellow tendril snaked toward a young girl who had fallen behind the group. Before it could touch her, a green energy construct in the shape of a hand snatched her to safety. Ben descended, depositing the child with her parents. "Everybody okay?" "Ben." Gwen's relief was evident. "The fear effect is getting worse. Some people are completely catatonic." Azimuth modified the Omnitrix to work with the ring, Ben explained quickly. "We need to get these people to the safe zone, then join the counteroffensive." "Counteroffensive?" Kevin asked skeptically, smashing another construct. "Against that?" He pointed skyward where Parallax's enormous form was becoming visible through the breach. "That's the plan," Ben confirmed. But first, he raised his ring, creating a green energy dome over the entire group. "Everybody listen up. Parallax feeds on fear. The more afraid you are, the stronger it gets. Focus on something that gives you courage, family, friends, hope, anything that pushes back against fear." As he spoke, Ben channeled willpower through his ring, infusing the dome with calming energy. The civilians visibly relaxed, their terror receding slightly. "That's new," Gwen observed. "Since when can Green Lantern rings affect emotions directly?" "They can't," Ben replied. "But with the Omnitrix synchronized." He gestured to the device on his wrist, which pulsed in harmony with his ring. "You're using alien DNA patterns to enhance the ring's capabilities," Gwen realized. "Clever. Azimuth's idea, not mine," Ben admitted. "Now let's move these people before." A massive yellow construct crashed down beside them, shaking the ground. It resembled a nightmarish version of Vilgax, twisted and enhanced by Parallax's power. "Before that happens," Kevin finished dryly. Ben stepped forward. "Get everyone to the safe zone. I'll handle Squidface 2.0. "Ben, wait." Gwen called, but her cousin was already engaging the construct. Instead of creating standard Green Lantern energy weapons, Ben activated the modified Omnitrix while maintaining his ring energy. In a flash of green light that remained connected to his lantern aura, he transformed. Diamond Head. The crystalline alien form materialized, still wearing the Green Lantern uniform. Ben fired crystal shards infused with green energy at the Vilgax construct. Where they struck, the yellow energy fizzled and dispersed. "That's right," Ben taunted the mindless construct. "Harder to feed on fear when your prey fights back, isn't it?" The construct roared, its form shifting as it adapted to Ben's attack. Tentacles lashed out, wrapping around his crystalline body. Ben focused on his ring, channeling willpower through Diamond Head's crystal structure. Green energy traveled through his body, emerging as a pulse that shattered the yellow tentacles. "Now that's what I call teamwork," Ben said, looking at the ring on his finger. The Omnitrix symbol on his chest pulsed in response, as if agreeing. With the construct temporarily dispersed, Ben reverted to human form, maintaining his lantern uniform. "That won't keep it down for long. Get these people moving." As Gwen and Kevin led the civilians toward safety, Ben's ring communicator activated. Hal's voice came through, tense with urgency. "Ben, we've got a situation at City Hall. Sinestro's there with some kind of device. Energy readings match the quantum resonators from yesterday." "On my way," Ben replied, taking flight. As he soared above the transformed cityscape, he activated his team-wide channel. "All units, status report. Eastern sector partially evacuated, Max responded. Plumber team's establishing containment perimeter, but we're losing ground. The fear effect is overwhelming our defenses. Southern safe zone holding, came another report. Lantern Stewart reinforcing barriers. Western approach compromised, a third voice reported. Yellow constructs breached the line. We need backup. Ben made a quick decision. Lantern Stewart, maintain southern position. Grandfather, dispatch reinforcements to the western breach. I'm heading for Sinestro at City Hall. As he flew, Ben noticed something disturbing. The yellow energy wasn't just spreading randomly. It followed a specific pattern, flowing like rivers toward certain nexus points. City Hall was clearly one such point, but there were others. Gwen, he called through the communicator, I need your magical perspective. The yellow energy is forming a pattern across the city. Can you sense it? After a moment's concentration, Gwen responded. It's creating a symbol, some kind of ancient sigil. I recognize elements from legerdemain texts. It's a summoning circle, Ben. Parallax isn't just invading, it's trying to physically manifest completely in our dimension. And City Hall is the central point, Ben realized. That's why Sinestro's there. He accelerated, pushing his ring's power to its limits. The cityscape blurred beneath him as he approached the government building, now warped into a twisted parody of its former architecture. At its center stood Sinestro, manipulating yellow energy streams with practiced precision. Beside him was a machine similar to the quantum resonators, but larger and more complex. Ben created a megaphone construct as he hovered above. Sinestro. Whatever you're planning ends now. The Corrigarian looked up with an unervingly calm smile. Tennyson. Right on schedule. Schedule? You were expecting me. Counting on you, actually, Sinestro replied. The final component has arrived, Doctor. From behind the machine stepped Dr. Animo, his body now even more heavily infused with yellow energy. Circuitry-like patterns covered his skin, and his eyes glowed with Parallax's power. Magnificent! Animo exclaimed, studying Ben through yellow-tinted goggles. The resonance pattern has fully stabilized. The Omnitrix and ring are in perfect harmony. Ben tensed, realizing he'd walked into something planned. What are you talking about? Your unique energy signature, Sinestro explained, gesturing elegantly. The synchronized resonance between Primus energy and the emotional spectrum. The very thing Azimuth and Ganthet helped you achieve. A chill ran down Ben's spine. You knew they would modify the Omnitrix. I counted on it, Sinestro confirmed. Just as I counted on your heroic nature bringing you here alone. I'm never really alone, Ben replied, activating his communicator. All units, converge on City Hall. Sinestro is, only Static answered. Sinestro held up a small device. Dimensional dampening field. Your communications are blocked within this area. Ben's ring pulsed as he prepared for battle. Then I guess we're doing this the old-fashioned way. He fired a beam of green energy at the quantum device, but it deflected harmlessly off a yellow shield. A direct approach. How predictable, Sinestro sighed. I had hoped for more creativity from the bearer of both legacy devices. You want creative? Ben twisted the Omnitrix dial. I'll show you creative. Green light flashed as he transformed. Swamp fire. Plant-like material replaced human flesh, but with a difference. The Green Lantern uniform remained integrated with his transformed body, and green energy coursed through his vegetable veins alongside methane. Ben launched a barrage of seed pods infused with green energy. Where they landed, they instantly sprouted into vines that wrapped around the quantum device. Impressive adaptation, Sinestro acknowledged. But futile. With a casual gesture, he directed yellow energy at the vines. Instead of withering, however, the plants absorbed the energy, their color shifting to a sickly yellow-green. What the? Ben began, feeling his connection to the plants change. Parallax doesn't just manipulate fear, Sinestro explained. It can corrupt any life force it touches. Your Methanosian form is particularly vulnerable. The corrupted plants turned against their creator, lashing toward Ben with surprising speed. He severed his control over them, then created a green energy scythe to cut them down. Lesson 1 in fighting Sinestro, came a voice from above. Never let him control the battlefield. Hal Jordan descended, ring blazing despite the power drain affecting other lanterns. He created a giant green fan construct that blew the corrupted plant matter away. Hal! Ben exclaimed. How did you find me? When communications cut out in this sector, it wasn't hard to guess where you'd be, Hal replied, taking position beside him. Plus, the Guardians can track the Omnitrix energy signature in emergencies. Sinestro regarded his former student with cool amusement. Jordan. Always arriving just in time to witness failure. The only failure I see is yours, fail, Hal replied. Whatever you're planning won't work. The core has contained parallax before. Contained, yes, Sinestro conceded. But never understood. Never utilized to its full potential. As they spoke, Ben noticed Animo making adjustments to the device. Energy readings on its display spiked dramatically. Quantum aperture stabilized, Animo announced. Dimensional interface at optimal parameters. Now, Doctor, Sinestro commanded. Before either hero could react, Animo activated the device. A beam of concentrated yellow energy shot skyward, connecting with the breach above. The dimensional tear widened dramatically, and Parallax's form became fully visible, a vast, serpentine entity with glowing yellow eyes and a body composed of fear energy. Freedom, its voice resonated through their minds. At last. The fear effect intensified exponentially. Across the city, even those who had resisted previously fell to their knees in terror. At the safe zones, protective barriers flickered as those maintaining them struggled against overwhelming dread. Ben felt it too, crushing fear threatening to overwhelm his willpower. Memories of every defeat, every failure, every moment of helplessness rushed through his mind. The ring on his finger dimmed slightly. Fight it, Ben. Hal shouted, his own ring flickering. Focus on your will. Sinestro watched with satisfaction. Willpower alone cannot stand against primal fear, Jordan. You of all people should know this. As the fear intensified, Ben struggled to maintain his transformation. The connection between the Omnitrix and ring wavered under Parallax's assault. In a flash of green light, he reverted to human form, though his uniform remained. The resonance pattern is destabilizing, Animo reported with concern. The subject is resisting the synchronization process. Then we must provide additional motivation, Sinestro decided. He directed a stream of yellow energy at Ben, forming it into constructs of his greatest failures, a Gregor with the complete Ultimatrix, Vilgax triumphant, Earth conquered by the High Breed. This is what awaits if you fail today, Sinestro told him. This is why fear must be harnessed, not merely resisted. Fear shows us what we must prevent at all costs. Ben staggered under the psychological assault. His ring dimmed further as doubts crept in. What if he couldn't stop this? What if all his power wasn't enough? Through the haze of fear, he heard Hal engaging Sinestro in battle. Green and yellow energy clashed above as the two veteran lanterns dueled. But Hal was weakening, his ring draining as Parallax grew stronger. Ben. Gwen's voice cut through his spiraling thoughts. Somehow she had reached the City Hall Plaza, her mana shields barely holding against the fear energy. Kevin was with her, looking strained as he maintained a protective metal coating. The resonance. Gwen called again. It works both ways. If Parallax can affect your connection, you can affect it too. Understanding flickered in Ben's mind. The synchronization between the Omnitrix and ring wasn't just a vulnerability, it was an opportunity. If Parallax could tap into that connection, perhaps he could tap into Parallax as well. He closed his eyes, focusing not on fighting the fear, but on understanding it. Fear was natural, a warning system, a preservation instinct. It wasn't inherently evil, just as willpower wasn't inherently good. They were forces, tools, aspects of consciousness itself. The Omnitrix warmed on his wrist as he made this realization. Its purpose was to foster understanding between different species, different ways of being. What if that principle applied to cosmic forces as well? That's it, he whispered. Opening his eyes, he saw the battle raging around him with new clarity. Sinestro wasn't evil, he was absolutist, believing control through fear was the only path to order. Parallax wasn't merely destructive, it was unbalanced, disconnected from its place in the cosmic spectrum. Ben stood straighter, his ring beginning to glow more brightly. Sinestro. You're right about one thing, fear can't just be fought. It has to be understood. Sinestro paused in his battle with Hal, looking down with surprise. Finally, wisdom emerges. But you're wrong about harnessing it, Ben continued. Fear isn't meant to be controlled, it's meant to be balanced. He activated the Omnitrix, selecting a form he rarely used but now understood was perfect for this situation. Green light flashed as he transformed. Alien X. The celestial being stood where Ben had been, black as space with stars swirling across its skin. But unlike previous transformations, this one was different. The Green Lantern uniform didn't simply adapt to the new form, it merged with it. Green energy flowed through the cosmic being's body, enhancing rather than covering its natural appearance. Impossible, Sinestro breathed. A Celestialsapian with a power ring? Inside Alien X's consciousness, Ben found himself in the familiar cosmic courtroom where Serena and Bellicus, the personalities of compassion and aggression, typically deliberated. But the space had changed. Green energy flowed through it, and the ring floated between the two personalities. This is unprecedented, Bellicus declared. The emotional spectrum interfacing directly with Celestialsapian consciousness. It's beautiful, Serena marveled. The willpower force in harmony with our cosmic awareness. We don't have time for a committee meeting, Ben urged. Parallax is destroying my world. I need your help, both of you, to restore balance. The two personalities considered him with new interest. You've changed, Ben Tennyson, Bellicus noted. You speak of balance rather than victory. Understanding rather than control, Serena added approvingly. Motion to temporarily grant Ben Tennyson full access to Alien X's abilities, enhanced by the Green Lantern ring, for the purpose of cosmic rebalancing, Bellicus formally proposed. Seconded, Serena agreed immediately. Motion carried, they declared in unison. Outside, Alien X's form began to glow with combined green and cosmic energy. The stars across its body brightened as Ben took full control. What is he doing? Onimo asked nervously as readings on his device went haywire. Something unexpected, Sinestro replied, watching with growing concern. Ben raised Alien X's arms, directing energy upward toward Parallax. Instead of attacking the fear entity, however, he established a connection, a bridge between dimensions. Parallax, Ben spoke, his voice resonating across realities. You've existed in isolation too long, disconnected from the spectrum of which you are part. Freedom is power, Parallax responded, its massive form undulating above the city. I need no connection. All things need connection, Ben countered. Even cosmic forces. With unprecedented precision, he used Alien X's reality manipulation abilities enhanced by the ring's focusing power to create a dimensional viewport. Through it became visible 6 other massive entities, each a different color: red rage, orange avarice, green will, blue hope, indigo compassion, violet love, and at the center, the white light of life itself. The emotional spectrum in its entirety, Hal whispered in awe. No one has ever seen them all together since the universe began. This is what you were once part of, Ben told Parallax. Not an isolated force of fear, but one aspect of a greater whole. Lies. Parallax roared, but its assault faltered as it beheld the other entities. They rejected me. No, Ben corrected gently. You rejected balance. Fear unchecked by hope, unguided by will, untempered by compassion becomes destructive. But fear itself is not evil, it's necessary. Using Alien X's powers, Ben expanded the viewport, showing moments throughout human history where fear had protected, warned, preserved. Where it had worked in harmony with other emotions to ensure survival and growth. You're not meant to be contained or destroyed, Ben continued. You're meant to be in balance. Parallax's form wavered as understanding began to penetrate its consciousness. Balance. I remember. Before the division, Ben nodded. Before the emotional spectrum was scattered across dimensions. You can be part of that whole again. Sinestro watched this exchange with growing alarm. No. Parallax is power incarnate. It needs no balance, only direction. He fired a concentrated beam of yellow energy at Ben, but Hal intercepted it with a shield construct. Let him finish, Thale, Hal urged. This might be our only chance to end the cycle permanently. Below, Gwen sensed the shift in cosmic energies. He's doing it, she told Kevin excitedly. Ben's not fighting Parallax, he's healing it. Healing a cosmic fear monster. Kevin asked skeptically. That's a new one even for Tennyson. Ben extended Alien X's hand toward Parallax. The choice is yours. Continue existing in isolation, feeding on fear alone, or rejoin the spectrum as you were meant to be, as one essential aspect of a greater whole. Parallax's enormous form undulated as it considered. Through the dimensional viewport, the other entities seemed to call to it, not with words, but with the fundamental resonance they all shared. I remember. Wholeness. Parallax's mental voice had changed, becoming less overwhelming, more thoughtful. No. Sinestro broke free from his battle with Hal, charging directly at the quantum device. I won't allow this. The power will be mine to command. He reached the machine, overriding Onimo's controls. The device pulsed with yellow energy, creating a direct channel to Parallax. By my will, through the power of fear, I claim dominion over Parallax and all it commands. Sinestro declared, pouring his consciousness into the connection. For a moment, it seemed to work. Parallax's form contracted, yellow energy flowing toward Sinestro. The Corrigarian glowed with borrowed power, rising into the air as yellow lightning crackled around him. The entity responds to absolute conviction, Sinestro explained, his voice resonating with new power. My will through fear shall bring order to a chaotic universe. Ben remained calm, Alien X's expression serene. Fear doesn't respond to commands, Sinestro. It responds to understanding. He directed Alien X's power not against Sinestro, but into the connection he had established with Parallax. Green cosmic energy flowed along the same channel, carrying not domination but recognition, acceptance, balance. Parallax convulsed as two opposing influences competed for its consciousness. Sinestro's attempt at control versus Ben's offer of restoration. Choose, Ben said simply. For a breathless moment, the entity hovered between paths. Then, with a roar that shook reality itself, Parallax broke free from Sinestro's influence. Yellow energy erupted from the Corrigarian, sending him crashing back to Earth. Balance, Parallax declared, its form beginning to change. I choose. Balance. The entity moved toward the dimensional viewport where the other spectrum entities waited. As it approached, its chaotic form began to stabilize, taking on a more defined shape, still serpentine, still composed of yellow energy, but more focused, more intentional. What's happening? Gwen asked, watching the transformation. Parallax is returning to its original state, Hal explained, landing beside them. before it was corrupted by isolation and became a parasite. Above the city, the yellow entity passed through the viewport. As it joined the others, a pulse of multicolored light spread outward. Where it touched the corrupted parts of Bellwood, reality restored itself. Buildings straightened, streets solidified, fear constructs dissolved. People looked up in wonder as the fear effect receded, replaced by a strange sense of wholeness, as if something long broken had finally begun to heal. In the plaza, Sinestro struggled to his feet, his yellow ring flickering weakly. "What have you done?" he demanded of Ben. "Do you have any idea what power you've just surrendered?" Ben, still in his Alien X form enhanced by the Green Lantern energy, regarded Sinestro with cosmic awareness. "I haven't surrendered anything. I've restored something to its proper place." "Fool," Sinestro spat. "You could have reshaped reality itself with that power." "That was never the point of either the Omnitrix or the ring," Ben replied. "They weren't created to dominate, they were created to protect, to understand, to connect." Sinestro's expression hardened. "This isn't over, Tennyson. The emotional spectrum entities exist in all realities. What has been rejoined can be separated again." "Maybe," Ben acknowledged. "But next time, they'll remember what wholeness feels like. And so will you." Before Sinestro could respond, a flash of multicolored light erupted from the dimensional viewport. It struck Ben directly, enveloping his Alien X form in blinding radiance. "Ben!" Gwen cried out in alarm. When the light faded, Ben had reverted to human form, collapsing to his knees in exhaustion. The Green Lantern uniform flickered around him, and the Omnitrix on his wrist pulsed erratically. Energy overload, Animo observed clinically, despite his own weakened state. The resonance was too powerful for his physical form to contain. Hal rushed to Ben's side while Kevin secured Animo. "Ben. Can you hear me?" Loud and clear, Ben managed, his voice hoarse. "Did it work?" "See for yourself," Hal gestured upward. The dimensional breach was closing, reality knitting itself back together. Through the shrinking viewport, Ben could just make out Parallax joining with the other entities, forming a balanced spectrum once more. "It worked," he whispered, relief washing over him. Sinestro took advantage of the distraction to activate his ring, creating a portal behind him. "This is merely the beginning, Tennyson. The cosmic game has many moves yet to play. Stop him." Hal shouted, but too late. Sinestro stepped through the portal, which closed instantly behind him. Ben tried to stand but fell back weakly. The Omnitrix sparked and the faceplate rotated half-closed, entering some kind of recovery mode. His Green Lantern uniform disappeared as the ring's glow faded to a faint pulse. "What's happening to him?" Gwen asked worriedly. "Power depletion," Hal explained, supporting Ben. The combined energy channeled through both devices exceeded their design parameters. "They need time to recover, and so does he." "Worth it," Ben murmured, managing a tired smile as he looked at the clearing sky. "Totally worth it." 3 days later, Ben sat on the roof of Plummer headquarters, watching the sunset. His arm was still in a sling, physical aftermath of the energy overload, and the Omnitrix remained in recovery mode, its faceplate dim. The Green Lantern ring on his finger glowed faintly, slowly recharging. The roof access door opened, and Hal Jordan stepped out. Unlike Ben, he was back in full Green Lantern uniform, his ring fully powered. "How are you feeling, hero?" Hal asked, joining him at the edge. "Like I went 10 rounds with Vilgax, Agregor, and Maltruant simultaneously," Ben replied with a wry smile. "But I'll live." "How's the Corps handling everything?" "Still picking up the pieces," Hal admitted. "Lanterns are back to full power now that the central battery has stabilized. The Guardians are processing what happened." "You mean they're freaking out that a human teenager with an Omnitrix understood something they missed for billions of years?" Hal laughed. "Something like that. But they're adaptable, in their own slow, ancient way. Ganthet's already proposed a new approach to training that incorporates understanding the entire emotional spectrum, not just willpower. Ben looked at his dimmed Omnitrix. And this? Azimuth said it could take weeks to fully recover. Some things can't be rushed, Hal replied. The power you channeled, it was beyond anything either the Omnitrix or the ring was designed to handle individually, let alone together. So I'm benched, Ben sighed. Just when I was getting good at ring slinging too. The ring's still functioning, just at reduced capacity, Hal pointed out. Enough for training, at least. Training? You mean I'm still in the core? Once a lantern, always a lantern, Hal confirmed with a smile. Though your case is unique. The Guardians and Azimuth have been in continuous session since the event. Arguing over jurisdiction again? Ben guessed. Actually, they're drafting a formal cooperation agreement between the Green Lantern Corps and the Plumbers, Hal revealed. Your grandfather's been representing Earth's interests. It's unprecedented, the Corps has never entered into a formal alliance with another peacekeeping organization. Ben raised his eyebrows in surprise. Wow. So my cosmic custody battle led to intergalactic peace. Something like that, Hal nodded. Your unique position as both Omnitrix wielder and Green Lantern created a bridge no one expected. The door opened again, and Gwen, Kevin, and Max joined them on the roof. How's our dimensional diplomat doing? Kevin asked, lightly punching Ben's good arm. Recovering, Ben replied. Though apparently I've sparked an intergalactic alliance while lying in the medical bay. The Galactic Council is involved now too, Max added. Word of what happened with Parallax has spread across the universe. Many worlds want to establish formal relations with both the Corps and the Plumbers. Political fallout, Gwen explained, seeing Ben's confused expression. What you did wasn't just a battle, it was a paradigm shift. You demonstrated that cosmic forces aren't meant to be fought or contained, but understood and balanced. I just did what felt right, Ben shrugged. And that's why the ring chose you, Hal said simply. As they talked, Azimuth teleported onto the roof, accompanied by Guardian Ganthet. The odd pair approached Ben with unusual synchronicity. Benjamin Tennyson, Azimuth began formally. The Omnitrix will require approximately 17 more days to fully recharge and reset. During this recovery period, Ganthet continued, your Green Lantern ring will function at reduced capacity, sufficient only for basic operations and training. So I heard, Ben nodded. Guess I'm on light duty for a while. When both devices fully recover, Azimuth explained, they will have undergone certain evolutions. The resonance pattern established between them has altered their fundamental programming. In English? Kevin prompted. They have learned from each other, Ganthet simplified. The Omnitrix has absorbed certain properties of the emotional spectrum energy, while the ring has incorporated aspects of the genetic adaptability of the Omnitrix. Ben looked at both devices with new interest. So when they're back online, their combined potential will be even greater, Azimuth confirmed, though he didn't sound entirely pleased about this development. Though hopefully used with greater wisdom than before. Speaking of wisdom, Ganthet turned to Max, the formal agreement between our organizations is ready for ratification. Magister Tennyson, your presence is requested on OA for the signing ceremony. An honor, Max nodded respectfully. Will Azimuth be joining us? Reluctantly, the Galvan creator muttered. As the adults discussed diplomatic details, Ben stared at the horizon where stars were beginning to appear in the darkening sky. Among them was a faint green point of light, OA, home of the Green Lantern Corps. Gwen sat beside him. Penny for your thoughts. Just thinking about what Sinestro said before he disappeared, Ben replied quietly. About this being merely the beginning. You think he'll try again? Even after what happened with Parallax? Ben nodded slowly. Sinestro believes in his cause absolutely. And somewhere out there, the emotional entities exist in balance now, but still separate from each other. The potential for greater unity, or greater division, remains. Sounds like a problem for another day, Kevin suggested, joining them. Right now, you should focus on recovery. Both you and your fancy accessories. Kevin's right, Gwen agreed. For once. Hey. Ben smiled at their banter, but his thoughts remained on the future. The connection he'd felt while synchronized with both the Omnitrix and Ring had shown him possibilities beyond anything he'd imagined. Not just different alien forms or energy constructs, but a deeper understanding of the fundamental forces that shaped reality itself. Hal approached, having finished his conversation with the others. Ready to head down? There's a formal debriefing scheduled, and then something about a celebration. Grandpa's cooking. Ben guessed with a mix of affection and dread. Worse, Kevin grinned. Plumber cafeteria food and alien dignitaries. Save me, Ben groaned dramatically. As the others headed for the door, Hal held Ben back for a moment. There's something else you should know. The Guardians detected unusual energy signatures in the aftermath of Parallax's reintegration. Something new was created during that event. New? Ben asked. Like what? They're not sure, Hal admitted. But it bears the combined signature of both the Omnitrix energy and the emotional spectrum. Whatever it is, it's out there somewhere, growing, evolving. Ben looked down at his recovering devices. A child of both powers? Maybe, Hal nodded. The universe has a way of finding balance, sometimes in ways we never expect. They joined the others, heading down to face bureaucracy, diplomacy, and questionable interstellar cuisine. But Ben's mind remained on the stars and what might be developing out there, a new force born from the harmony he had briefly achieved between two of the universe's greatest powers. Whatever came next, he would face it with both the versatility of the Omnitrix and the will of a Green Lantern. And perhaps something more, the wisdom to seek balance rather than victory, understanding rather than control. As if sensing his thoughts, both the Omnitrix and Ring pulsed briefly in unison. A reminder that while they might be temporarily diminished, they were far from finished. The hero's journey never truly ended. It just evolved into something new. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.